to rein in on rogue individuals in his administration, saying ODM party members won't compromise on their democratic values for the sake of working with his UDA party.
If you do not want or cannot tolerate what somebody is saying about you, you have a block button. Just block. It's that simple. Why would you want to kill somebody because they have a different views from yours? And I think one of the things I'm sure you will probably be asking, so let me just tell you, because I've seen when I condemned this, everybody was asking me in social media, but you are collaborating in the broad-based government. You've seen clearly in our MOU, there is no collaboration about intolerance. There is no collaboration about limiting human rights. And that is not the nature of character of our party.
The Law Society of Kenya President Faith Odhiambo on her part dismissed claims that Ojwang, who was arrested in Homa Bay on Saturday over the offence of false publication, actually died by suicide.
Evidently, the failure to adhere to the law and due process discloses the existence of ill will, bad faith and malice in the arrest of Mr. Albert Ojwang. Accordingly, we oppose any proposition that his death was an accident or that it can be justified. The entire predicament encountered by Mr. Ojwang prior to his death is consistent with a criminal conspiracy which must be fully investigated and prosecuted. The National Police Service owes Kenyans an explanation on why Albert Ojwang was handled with such animosity that he met his death within police custody. The rights enshrined in our Constitution apply to every Kenyan unless limited in accordance to the law.
And finally, an independent committee investigating organ and tissue transplant services in the country and several allegations involving Medihill hospitals has begun the process of listening to the views of the public in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. Speaking at the Eldoret Town Hall, the chairman of the committee, Professor Elizabeth Bukusi, has called on residents with different views about the organ syndicate in various health facilities to come and give their views to assist in the ongoing investigations.
Our responsibility is to be able to investigate all the services that are being offered within this country that provide tissue or organ transplantation, and to determine if they are being done appropriately and at what standards and what levels, and if there is adequate regulation and policy that enables these services to be offered appropriately for Kenyan citizens. This week, we are here in Uasin Gishu, and we are going to be here for 4 days, where we are providing an opportunity for anybody who has any interest in this area to be able to provide information to the task force.
That's the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubag.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Waliletea fujo Moi mpaka wakapata cooperation. Wakakuja wakasumbua Kibaki mpaka wakachukua nusu mkate. Wamekuja wakazungusha Uhuru hapo mpaka wakaenda na handshake, program yetu ikapotea, BBI ikaendelea, tukazama, tukaingia kwa madeni. Sasa mimi nimewaambia, hii serikali hii, mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla. Hakuna nusu mkate, hakuna handshake, hakuna hiyo borojo.
Jana nimeona wale wazee tulishinda. Ati hiyo mzee akisema ati he'll not be coerced or intimidated to joining our government. Wewe mzee sikia. We have no business within our government. Hatuna haja na hatugojei wewe. We are not looking for you and we have no time. Stop saying that people can force you to come to this government. Forget about being forced or coerced. We are not interested because sisi tuko na kazi ya kufanya.
Kama kuna mtu ako na namba ya William Ruto, arekodi hii video mtumie. Maisha yangu tangu nizaliwe sijawahi kuona mtu muongo, mfisadi, baradhuli, dhabdhabina kama William Samoei Ruto.
Mimi Hassan Joho nikitaka kuongea, mimi I don't even dream of engaging with them. Ati huyu akitaka aje ongee sio na mimi niongee na Ruto nini? Mimi nikamtafute atanipa nini? Wilbaro.
I wonder.
Nilipeleka Wilbaro mimi la kimtaani la kucheza nalo zamani.
We have a choice to reject over 60% of these names or give President Ruto his skunk. Apart from a few individuals who are not even more than 8, the rest are incompetent, unqualified, have integrity issues are people who cannot deliver this country from where it is to the next level that we want the country to move in.
A few moments later.
Now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Why are we doing that? We are doing something that we're not supposed to do, Eve. But now we have behaved ourselves. Ndu? Okay. Very good morning. Good morning, Gee.
Good morning. How you do?
Me. I'm fine. Evie was trying to confuse me there in the back room, but we are here anyway, regardless. Today is the day. Good morning. The sun is already shining. Good things are happening. Na sisi tuko hapa. How are you this morning, Dennis?
Salama sana, nashukuru.
How did you know it was you I was asking?
Because you're looking at me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Non-verbal communication.
Exactly.
It's a thing. So you're fine today?
Kabisa.
Okay.
How's Dio?
Dio.
I'm good.
Buona Dio, good morning.
How's the... Oh, snap.
Yeah.
No.
You don't like it?
That ends now.
Huh?
How is the plantation?
Huh?
How is the plantation?
Which one?
It's this one.
Oh, okay. We are fine.
We were talking in the plantation. You've forgotten.
Where? Oh. We're fine. We have our tools. We are ready to go.
Yeah. My morning is good.
Very good.
Can't complain.
Well done.
You said that you talked about the sun.
Yeah, if you look
yesterday it rained suddenly.
Yeah, it did out of nowhere, but I hear it rained in most of Nairobi.
Yeah.
And it was really cold. I think the winter is already here.
Yes, it is.
It is.
My favorite time of the year in Kenya. Woo!
The mist.
You love winter?
Oh, man. This time of the year in Kenya, love it. Like, and even when I travel other places in the world, when I go and it's winter, I love it. I know, like in Europe, when it's really, really cold, and people are like, "Oh, it's freezing," and I say, "Yeah,
this is my thing."
So when people go on vacation and it's summer, you go on vacation and it's winter.
No, but I can do like a vacation in the sun and whatever. But I would rather be in the cold. Like when people are out on the beach and swimming and whatever. Like if it's the sunny, I would prefer to be in the water most times so that I can be cool.
Okay,
that's just me, I guess. You're looking at me in wonderment and amazement.
No, in my community there is a name for that. Let me remember what that name is. For someone who loves the cold.
There is a name for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alor? What is that? You're looking for real?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Anatafuta. Muhimu sana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do tell when you find it.
It is misty, no? There's a lot of mist out there.
Yeah, I'm sure now as you're going out towards, Limuru,
yeah,
Kimende, that whole area must be crazy right now. I'm telling you, the things that I know, call me quirky, call me whatever you need to, but that's it. As we wait for Dennis to find this thing that people from Kisi call me. Abi?
Yes.
Okay. There's a name.
There's a name.
For people who are born in the cold season or someone who loves the colds.
So I was born in June. So in Nigeria, that is actually the rainy season. But here in Kenya, it would be the cold season. So I'm waiting to hear what that is. Here we are. It's the 10th of June. And we have some conversations to have today. So good morning, everybody. Our live streams are up. I know you're looking at that. We're still waiting for Dennis. This thing must come out today. Anyway, we have established that everybody is fine. And as you can see, I'm fine too. EVE is somewhere inside there waving at us, with 2 hands even. Fantastic. So Eve is doing the production back there. And of course, the wheels of this bus wouldn't turn if people were not doing things and behind the scenes. So we just want to say thank you and we recognize you every day for the fantastic things that happen in the back room. You can't see them, but you can definitely feel them. The Situation Room, it's Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 16 minutes after 6 o'clock and we're here this morning getting into things. Let us do what? Let us tell you the conversations that we will have today, shall we? 7 a.m.
What was I even thinking? I'm not even going far because my sister has the same name.
But
I've just remembered, yes. So there are two names given to someone who was born in the cold season in Kisii. So one is Kerubo.
Kerubo.
I'm sure you've heard of that.
I have.
Kerubo.
Yes. The other one is Nyanchera.
Nyanchera. I like Nyanchera.
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 Yes.
Bas.
Can someone be called Kerubo Nyanchera?
Like rain.
Rain. Cold rain. Rainy cold.
Well, I guess you can. So Nyanchera.
Why not? Let's go, Nyanchera. So call me Nyanchera. Moving forward. So, as I was telling you, the conversations that we will have today. Look, guys, at 7 o'clock, we will hear from you. There is just too much that is happening at the moment, that death has become a thing of the day. Not just death, but killing has become a thing of the day. And that we plunge individuals, we plunge families, we plunge loved ones into unprecedented grief by what we do. And then we plunge people into further questioning about morality, about the right or wrong, about value. And it cannot continue in this way. There are investigations going on. The police are asking questions, they say. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority is also asking questions, and they say that it will be established in terms of what will happen in the coming days. That Albert Ojwang died in the manner in which he did, that he died at all, and there was no need for his death. And that there was no need for him to be killed in the way in which he was killed is not a conversation that we can sweep under the carpet. It will be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. We will talk about it until we are blue in the face. And stand behind and state that this kind of wanton killing, this kind of unnecessary death should not be a thing that is characterizing Kenya. It shouldn't be. Political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable, and to give an appearance of solidity to pure wind. That's the conversation we have at 7 o'clock today. We followed by other conversations that we'll get into the morning with, and at 8 o'clock we will then be joined by communications strategist Barak Muluka. We'll look at the price of politics in Kenya. What is the currency that we're giving to then have the political scene coloured the manner in which it is? Barak Muluka joins us at 8 o'clock. And then at 9, Joachim Simiyu is a governance advisory and policy analysis expert. Bunge la Mwananchi. We'll talk about the budget 2025-2026. In a couple of days, the budget will be read to the nation and you'll hear where everything is supposed to be coming from. However, Mwananchi's voice on the cost of survival. What is it going to take for you to actually survive through the next year in terms of the different things that we see? So those are the conversations that we have in the Situation Room this morning. We will talk with you and you will join us as we do. Remember that our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook and on X, and we will get into saying hello to you as you then tune in. Let us know where you're tuned in from and tell us you are, and thank you always for joining us. Definitely we cannot do and have these conversations without you. All right, we went to Uganda. Banange. And you're going to share today's proverb with us?
Yes. Source of River Nile. Africa's tallest mountain range. Called what again?
Mountain range, not mountain.
Yes, mountain range.
Rwenzori.
The Rwenzori, yes.
Yeah.
In high school, actually, my dormitory was Rwenzori.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and the country as well has a rich biodiversity. By that we mean 10 national parks, over 60 protected areas, boasting over 1,000 bird species. They also have the Big Five, so pretty much the same story as Kenya when it comes to the spread of animals. And our proverb of the day: the teeth are smiling, but is the heart?
Yeah.
The teeth are smiling, but is the heart?
Oh, interesting. So the British, the English, have this saying that you kind of like say, he smiled at me, but the smile did not go beyond his eyes. So it's plastics, really, that you can have a smile on your face, but it doesn't tell of what's really happening in your heart. We can pretend, can't we? Quite some. There's another one. Hey, I'm feeling waxing lyrical this morning. There is no art to tell the mind's manifestation on the face.
Interesting.
I can smile at you, but you don't know if I'm really, if that has come from inside. Abby?
Appearances can be deceiving.
Exactly.
You know. Yeah.
Well, I'll make a confession later. But to the proverb.
Okay.
I was thrown off a bit. Some people lynch me, but anyway. The teeth are smiling, but the what?
But it's the heart.
But it's the heart. So it's like question.
Yeah.
Sounds like a metaphor to me. And that metaphor is like, people who pretend to be friends. Like, I'm your friend. I'm smiling with you. I'm giving you all the good vibes and telling you what you want to hear. But deep down my heart, I have a bitterness.
True.
Like I want to destroy you.
Proper.
Or like the way somebody will hand you something with the left hand, something looking nice, but the right hand is hiding a knife.
Yeah.
And it's digging into your back properly.
So it's like covering intentions.
Seems like the story of Kenya, man.
Where?
And the leadership it has. I can't really separate it from that. Smiling in your face, but deep down, they just want to keep on taking, man.
Well, we'll continue looking into those interpretations as we get through the morning. Let's say a quick hello to you. I can see there's so many of you in the room this morning. We're saying hello very, very quickly so we can get into the headlines. Let's see if we can do it in 2 minutes or so. And I'm not that I'm rushing you guys, but hey, Robert Tobago is tuning from Mombasa. Good morning to you. Don Sabwa says the death of one Albert is not only painful, but a sign of how dysfunctional, lapsed, careless, and disjointed government security apparatuses are. Is it though? The same was depicted with the killing of an MP. Well, how are you all? Desmond Oti says, hi cousins. Well, good morning to you, bro. In Kenya, politicians know how to keep us busy while doing their business underwater. Anyway, Vijana, we should be vocal. Eugene Odhiambo says, good morning, Spice family. It's very unfortunate that they had to kill him in Nairobi, all the way from Homa Bay. Where? Crazy. Listening in from Kikuyu. Dennis Dianga says, good morning, cousins watching from North Carolina. Kenya needs a new roadmap, a clear one, actually. Rose Grace is watching us and says, things happening in Kenya is just shocking. I know. Like I said yesterday morning, when we just say, okay, let's see if we can face this thing properly, right? Then you say, okay, fine. Maybe we're getting into a day when we're going to, then poof, poof, left, right, center. Something new hits you. And you need an opportunity to breathe. It's not coming. Sadly, unfortunately, it's not. Horror stories are hitting you left, right, and center.
And today's Tuesday.
Today's just Tuesday.
Only Tuesday.
Today is only Tuesday. And we already, God knows what's going to happen by the end of today. It's just Tuesday. It's just Tuesday, guys. Hesbon Sidon says, good morning, Team Spice. We will not relent. We will not tire. Tutapambana na wao. Unyo kwa unyo. What's unyo?
I thought in Luo, kageka. Hapa na hapa.
Oh, okay.
Side by side.
All right. Yes. Michael Olande says, good morning, dear friends. Odang was just murdered. Period. There's no other way to explain it. That's true. Jackson, on June 25th, let's all observe a minute of silence in honor of our departed Gen Z, including the late Albert Odang. Let us all join hands to celebrate the lives and legacies of our heroes. System ya Majambazi, says Mike Wainaina. Okay. Taifa Waleo, hawashibi damu ya za Gen Z. Erica Ward, good morning to you. Hashtag remembering our heroes. Jackson, good morning. Man P says, hello, Makuzo, tuning from Austin in Texas. Hisa Daniel is tuning this morning and says, good morning. DJ Ramil says, good morning. It's high time Kenyans take matters into their own hands. I don't know what that is, but okay. Hi, cousins. Our politicians own their own die, and they shed crocodile tears and even make it a prayer item on the national prayer platform. An ordinary one of their voters dies, they keep mum and look the other way. To mechoka. African Queen says, good morning, Spice family. We stand with our own. Politicians divide us when it suits them. This is how people feel, guys. This is how people feel. I mean, you can't. This is how people are feeling.
Yeah.
Agola says, bonjour, bonjour, my sister. Jose Mahinda says, good morning, Team Spice. Tuned in this morning is Georgia Demo as well and says, good morning. And he's asking for an audit of all the hospitals in Kisumu. Or rather, let's start with Kisumu. What's going on? Do tell. Ongani Malala says, good morning from Kisumu this morning. Soldier Boy says, this time, Wana Atlanta, we are awake for the violence. You said, I feel sad for the country. It has already started boiling and it's not yet the 25th of June. I'm telling you. Freddie Ben says, good morning, fellow patriots. It's another day the Almighty has given us. Indeed it is. Baka Joshua says, good morning. Deaths in police custody in Kenya. There have been quite a few, actually. There have been quite a few. Jimmy Munuthi is tuned in this morning and says, after bot statements by the police, remember we said that yesterday morning, some information about Albert's murder is coming out, but why the fear of arresting the most logical person with the crew? With the crew. Tibbs Muge says, good morning, we see you. Kenyans don't forget about their finance bill. Yes, indeed, this could be. Look, I don't think there's diversionary tactics here at all. It's just that too many things are happening at the same time. Joe Mungai says, good morning from Bonny Lake, and he says, we shall overcome. Hi, cousins. Kifo chao Juang kime simuliwa kenye tamitilia ya Kifo Kisimani.
Kifo Kisimani.
What are those?
It was a set book in high school.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so Kifo Kisimani, there's this guy was called, I remember, but he was killed by the leadership at the time next to a well. Yeah.
I'm going to take some time to go through all of these comments, guys, really quickly. My Prince says, good morning, Team Spice. Kenyans should stop giving audience to politicians. Stop going to political rallies. If they have something important, they can do it through the media. Good morning, cousins. May justice prevail in Albert's case, says Precious Gondi. Rahimtullah Omar is tuned in from the UK in Colchester. King Dave Lubale says, good morning, everybody. Paul Jehia says, good morning, Ndu, Dennis, Okari. City Bado, but don't worry, guys. Let me just say it and say it here. City will be back. Okay, so just take it easy. Cosmas Marisi says, good morning, watching from Pennsylvania. Love you guys. Morris Adati says, good morning. Ben Nyawitha says, my weather app promised rain yesterday. Very reliable. Cindio, Paul Jehi has decided that Ndu is a Murima lady, very comfortable in snow. Aida is snow. Okay. The people are all claiming me. I can't see you. Lameko Taylor says, good morning, Team Spice. I've consistently said we are on our own. I'll repeat for the people in the back. My take says, describe the emoji for me. Which one? The one wearing sunglasses. It could be many things. You could be wearing sunglasses because the sun is shining. You want to be cool, or when you're saying cool, you could be, like that. Take it as you want, my take. Hesbon Sidon says, good morning, tuned in from Europe. Aseto Jamigori. Confirmed. Bas. Kennedy Anyona says, good morning. Somebody's called Bokendo. I don't know who that is, but okay. Kabathe says, good morning, Team Spice. Do you know the space between your eyebrows is called a glabella? I actually do. The space between your eyebrows is called a glabella. So
why would we know that?
I don't know. It's just some so this is one thing. Fun fact about me. I love consuming random information. I can just read, like random.
So what's the space between the eye and the ear?
I have no idea about that.
At least you know glabella.
Do you know what that one is?
No, I have
Well, at least you know this one is called glabella.
Why? Is it because...
It's probably not English. It's probably not English.
I feel like it's just a combination of glad and bella.
Okay, well, maybe, but it's definitely not English. It definitely has roots in Latin. You can just tell from the forming of the words. But okay. Young Jedi says, good morning. Hope you all are well today. The cold has officially set camp. Indeed, it has. Yum, yum. Cole Kipkano says, good morning. Tuned in and ready for the rainy season. You'd be called... Oh, if I was Kalenjin, I would be called Cherop. Because I like, if I was born in the cold. Abi?
Or Akoth.
People are also saying Akoth. Okay, everybody claim. Kiongozi Omosa akiwa ofisini anacheki show live. Good morning, Thomas. Stanley Gash is tuned in this morning. Dennis Squared and Nyanchera. It's already clicked.
Yeah.
Dennis Squared and Nyanchera. We should do like a music video. Anyway, Kennedy says good morning. Faith Sander. Hey, this is very interesting. Sanda is one of my very best friends. The family is called Sanda in Nigeria. So I wonder, are you from Nigeria? Paul Njehia, Ndu is Nyambura. Now you see, everybody. Kerubo is for swamp, Nyanchera is for roadside, the name Nyambura for girls, and Ombura for boys. Sawa basi. Phillips Meto, good morning. The sisters are tuned in this morning. Our Heavenly Father, hear our prayers. Amen. Deknis, we see you. Good morning. Born in the raining season or while it's raining is Akoth in Luo. Okay, sawa basi. Ogwen O'Brien, good morning. John Gishuki says, good morning. Good morning, Ndu and Dennis Squared, the Spice Fraternity. My take, we see you. Good morning. Soldier Boy is also here. Andrew Chira is tuned in. Paul Mulemi says, it's laughable. The deputy... IG, Mr. Lagat, is adversely mentioned in the murder of Albert. Yes, he's parading himself in front of cameras while promoting justice. I mean, it's crazy. The things you would imagine you wouldn't see, but you see them. theatre of the absurd. Sir George Gashoiri, where have you been? My goodness. Good to have you here. Great. And Karibu Dominic Rotich is here and says it's unfortunate that we are losing the lives of people from police who are supposed to be protecting us. I know it's the irony of our times. Gail is tuning from Nairobi. Ojwang is Mwelusi from Kifo.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell the truth. I like that handle. Good morning. Jack Abila says, good morning, Ndu, D-O and D-A. Chemelil is locked. Good morning, everybody. Karibuni sana. As you keep getting into the room, we'll keep noticing. Let's have discourse this morning of things that are happening. Why is it important to talk? So that they know you know, and that you're not comfortable with things that are not going right, and that you laud the things that are. That's why we have conversations. So let's take 3 minutes and look into the headlines, take a break and come back, and we will look into what? We shall look into the meat of these stories. I'll start off with Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. Blood on their hands. That's the headline. In no question. Who do we see there? DCI boss Mohammed Amin. We also see here Eliud Lagat, who is the DIG. That's the director of the Deputy Inspector General Police Service, as well as Douglas Kanja. The presence of the DIG Police Service, Eliud Lagat, at a press conference where the IG mentioned his complaint, now at the Centre of Investigations into the death of influencer Albert Odang, was a show of impunity. You stand there, essentially, while this is happening. In civilized democracies, the DIG should have resigned after his name cropped up in accounts explaining the death at a police station. DCI Mohammed Amin, whose officers tortured Odang, and Nairobi Central Police OCPD should also be held responsible. That's what the headline says. We'll look into the details of the story. The other headlines, according to the story, commanding the carnage, the men with blood on their hands, DIG Lagat over on the spot over Odwang's death. And while this is all happening, there are still other things happening in the country where grade 9 started to select their career paths yesterday. And remember Rex Masai, who was shot and killed on the 25th of June 2024? Well, 2 police officers in the inquest that's currently going on have confirmed that there was a secret deployment on the day he was shot. Secret deployment for what, you ask? Well, the court is being told. La 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 la. Karua makes bold statement in local and East African politics. We'll tell you what she said in a minute. And the court set the hearing date for IEBC nominees. Many say this is an exercise in futility because guess what? They've already been passed and confirmed by Parliament. The court case is going on. Will the IEBC continue its work? These are all questions that we ask even as we look into these stories. Well, I'm telling you. Meanwhile, displaced post-election violence victims remain in camps 17 years later. Did you know that people who were displaced in 2008 to 2007,
7 to 8,
2007 to 08, it has been 17 years. Do you know that they're still living in camps? Did you know? They are. All happening in where?
Kenya.
Thanks. 6.5 billion shillings in terms of IDP compensation has never made it to the IDPs. Let's look at some other headlines before we get into the meat of those stories, yeah? All right.
Yeah. Let's go to the Daily Nation. The president's mounting debt headache. The country's debt has risen to 11 trillion shillings after Ruto's administration added 1.4 trillion shillings by last December. The president says for every 10 shillings in revenue, 6 shillings goes towards repaying loans, leaving very little for development. And the commanders, Douglas Kanja, Inspector General of Police, Eliud Lagat, Deputy IG, and Mohammed Amin, security chiefs, are under pressure to resolve the mysterious death of Alberto Ojwang, a Voi-based teacher and a blogger, an incident that has sparked nationwide outrage. Ojwang died hours after his arrest by detectives investigating a complaint by their boss, Mr. Lagat. And SHA demands full annual premiums to treat patients, as well as Kenya coffee yields set to grow and improve earnings. The U.S. Department of Agriculture projects a 13.3% growth in the country's coffee production in the next marketing period that begins in October. And As we talk about matters to do with capitation and grade 9s, what are teachers saying? They have just issued a strike warning over pay. And teachers' unions have warned of disruptions to learning in public schools following deadlock over negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement. The warning comes 3 weeks to expiry of 2021-2025 CBA the union signed with the Teacher Service Commission. The current CBA lapses on June 30th. Yes.
I'll quickly go through the Business Daily. Main headline, online VAT registration frozen. So traders now required to physically present proof of identity to seal loopholes that resulted in revenue leaks. So the story here is that the Kenya Revenue Authority has now suspended online registration of VAT obligations amid an ongoing cleanup of its registers to weed out ghost traders suspected of siphoning billions of shillings through fraudulent schemes. So in a radical shift, VAT registrations have been reverted to a manual system whereby traders are required to physically present proof of identity to seal loopholes that resulted in revenue leaks through the notorious missing trader scheme, in quotes, which involves issuing fictitious invoices to depict a business transaction. Now, still the Business Daily, SACCOs with 3-year audit lapse now face deregistration. Then there's another story here. Banks raise construction loans by 19.3 billion in Q1. So interestingly, commercial banks increased funding for the building and construction sector by double-digit rate. So when you're seeing a lot of buildings coming up within the city and other parts of the country, it's because of the credit to the sector, which grew by 14.35%. Iko pesa. Then Kenya Power on page 6 to buy 2,400 meters in 4 months. Now, here's the thing. So Kenya Power is set to acquire at least 2,400 meters at an undisclosed price by September, as the company seeks to speed up connections and replace faulty ones.
What do you mean at an undisclosed price?
So Kenya Power needs 4,000 meters of different capacities every month, and it's racing to ensure enough supply of meters and transformers to connect new customers.
Okay.
Now, the biggest chunk of these units will be for those with a capacity of 200/5A, where the utility intends to buy 1,223. But now the thing is, the contract is not revealing how much these meters are going to be bought for.
Okay.
Yes.
Nisawa.
Syria or Chacha.
It's okay. We're going to take a break in just a minute. Why Mudavadi is on shaky ground ahead of 2027 polls is on the Star. Sorry, sometimes forget that Mudavadi is a politician. Yeah. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so apparently he's on shaky ground because they're talking about strategic missteps such as folding his party have left him vulnerable and create a vacuum where others are clamoring to fill. Okay. Man who beheaded his grandmother over a tree gets 35 years. Okay, maybe some would say that's not enough. Trump card, talk of Ruto Ryla ticket sparks debates. I think that there's quite some to look at here. So let's take a break. Let's see what's happening on the roads this morning, and we come back and look at these stories in detail. We'll try to get through as many as we can. 20 minutes to 7 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. Ndu, Dennis, and Dennis with you today, and we continue in a short while when we come back.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
This June on Next Superstar, the pressure is on. The search for Africa's next hitmaker just got fiercer. Don't miss a moment. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded free to the next high bouquet for 60 days. It's vocal battles, show-stopping performances, and edge-of-your-seat showdowns. Who will judges Motive, Size 8, and King Kaka choose to move on to the next round? You can also buy a DTT StarTimes decoder at our business halls countrywide. Dial *858# for self-service or call our customer care on 0730-710077. Offer starts June 13th to August 16th, 2025. Terms and conditions apply. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life. This June on Next Superstar, the pressure is on. It's vocal battles, show-stopping performances, and edge-of-your-seat showdowns. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 60 days to watch the battle unfold on Rainbow TV+. The search for Africa's next hitmaker just got hotter. Renew your subscription today and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months free. Who will judges Motive, Size 8, and King Kaka choose to move on to the next round? On the move, stream Next Superstar live on Star Times On. Anytime, anywhere. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank. On your side.
All right, this morning it's busy already. Let's see what's happening. Let's, of course, start off with your point of the Thika Superhighway, where traffic is already starting to bleed into the city, and it's busy as you come then towards Survey, and it's already starting to pile up, and that's coming in all the way from Garden City. There is some traffic also on Kiambu Road, so that terrible accident that took place yesterday on Kiambu Road, I guess, didn't make it to the minds of too many yesterday, but just to be careful as you get onto the roads this morning. It's okay on Uhuru Highway as you get into the CBD. There is some traffic coming off of Waiyaki Way, but still slim pickings this morning. Let's wait and see what it looks like as we come out of it, and we'll talk and try to keep things moving. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, empowering you to achieve your dreams and secure your future with our financial solutions across Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius. I&M Bank, on your side.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right, at 17 minutes to 7 o'clock, looking into these stories making headlines. And so the questions arise. This is the conversation that we will have at 7 a.m. But commanding the carnage, the men with blood on their hands. So just looking at the series of things that happened yesterday. So Sunday, we saw the first statement that came from the police service, whereby the allegation was that Albert Ojwang had been taken from Homa Bay to Nairobi, and that while in custody in Nairobi, somehow managed to bang his own head against the wall and then sustained injuries, for which they took him to the Bagavi hospital, and he was then pronounced dead on arrival. Soon after that, we saw another statement that came from the same police service stating that, okay, hang on, it's possible that there was something that went wrong here, and that they were asking everybody who was in rank in charge on the night, from the sergeant of cells to the OCS and his deputy, and everybody who was taking care of the occurrence book and all of that, to then be asked questions. And then we saw that thereafter the presser that then took place outside Vigilance House, if I'm not wrong, was that people were going to be suspended until they found out investigations. The questions being here that the individuals who picked him up in Homa Bay and took him to Nairobi, why is nobody talking about these guys?
Exactly.
We have to ask the question, because as I'm looking at this story, it's indeed commanding the carnage that the folks who are behind this thing, people are talking about where he ended up in the Nairobi at Central Police Station. Somebody brought him from Homa Bay, which is 6 hours on the road. Yeah. Okay, if you've come really quickly in those vehicles, maybe 5. No, 6.
If you look at the statement from the National Police Service, the update following the death of Albert Omondi Ojwang, there is something there. There were 5 things that were mentioned there. So there are 5 who are in this case suspended. So you've got the OCS, the duty officer, the cell sentry on duty at the time, all officers who are on duty at the report office that night. Now, 5, any other officer found to have been on duty or otherwise involved during the incident. So here's where my issue is. It's very, very clear on who has been mentioned here in terms of interdictions.
Right.
So you've interdicted the officer commanding station as Central Police.
Yes.
You've interdicted the duty officer on duty during the night in question. You've interdicted the cell sentry on duty at the time, and all officers who are on duty at the report office. This is still within Central.
It's still Central Police.
Central Police Station.
Though you're not mentioning the names of these individuals, but we know their positions. So officially, these have been interdicted. But now on line 5, any other officer found to have been on duty, why are we not hearing who are these people? And otherwise, involved during the incident. Who are these others who are involved during the incident?
And where?
Exactly.
Why are we not being specific about where? Because I'm asking, there was a lot that happened between Homa Bay and Nairobi.
Yes.
Why are we not talking about that transport? Why are we not talking about that? Because it was the longest time. Think about it. It was the longest time for which he was in custody of police. Because his father was very clear that it was officers. They identified themselves as officers with the DCI. And then they said they were arresting him because of 1, 2, 3. He spent the longest time in their presence. 5 hours, 6 hours on the road. The longest time in their presence. He was only at Central, according to this report, for a very short period of time, before which they say he was then taken to Bagathi. So what happened in that period?
There's another issue there that they say during the incident. Is it the incident?
Which incident
are we talking about? You know, because by the time he was arrested in Homa Bay, that is an incident. He's traveling from being ferried from Homa Bay to Nairobi is an incident. The incident that happened at Central is an incident. Him being taken to Bagathi and being declared dead is an incident. So what exactly are they talking about?
You know, it's simple. It's simple logic. So you want to begin an investigation. You're looking at a chronology and looking at how the events took place. So when you're looking at how this story unfolded, detectives stormed the rural home of Ojwang in Homa Bay. The arrest was made by people who are on motorbikes. Who are these officers who went to the home?
Yes.
Let's begin there. Who are these officers who went to the home to arrest this young gentleman? So we're not being told who these people are. We're not told who others are. And fine, you know, you may argue investigations are still ongoing. Also give them the latitude to complete what they're working on currently. Who else is involved? Fine, it's okay. But the omission in this press statement of where this thing started, you're only targeting the people who received John.
Yes.
You're not looking at the people who actually arrested him.
Who picked him up,
Who are the people who picked this young man? The detectives who went to that rural home and arrested Ojwang in Homa Bay. Who are these people?
Dennis, I have a question. You've done investigative stories on matters security. By the time a police officer is coming to arrest you in your home, do they require a warrant?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Did they have that when they were going to Ojwang's home?
Of course they didn't.
Thank you.
And like I always say, the focus can be, and I agree with some statements from the civil society that, you know, hey, let's not kid ourselves. Don't give us the names of the small fish. These people were deployed. An officer doesn't leave a police station, travel without somebody instructing them to do so.
There's an order.
So as much as we may target the arresting officers, it's important to know who they are first. But as much as that is important, who is the person who issued the order? They don't send themselves.
Police work on orders.
Yes, they do.
They follow orders.
And sometimes they're the ones who are at the end of these things, and unfortunately so, because somebody sitting in a very nice, comfortable, red carpeted office
with an AC,
not go home with an AC, will not go home.
Yeah.
They will be sitting watching all the small fish going home. The constables, all the junior officers being sacrificed.
You know what cracked my head yesterday was the fact that the DIG Eliud Lagat, the person who's being mentioned here, was behind the Inspector General of Police giving that statement.
I will talk about that later.
We'll talk about it at 7 o'clock because there are many other concurrent conversations that are happening here. And then when you want to look at things like the rule of law, number one, when you want to look at just an acknowledgement of, it's we can couch it in a lot of English, but at the end of the day, it's just proper behavior. Yeah. Come on. Anyway, we'll have this conversation at 7. It's one that's gripping the nation, not just because of a one man, but it's a representative of what is really happening for us to be able to look at. It is necessary that we do. Let's look at another story. Aseto.
So let's talk about the teachers' strike, which is on page 10 of the Daily Nation. And why am I talking about the teachers' strike? Because as we speak right now, the education is in shambles in the country. Call it what you want, but yes, it is in shambles. Teachers' unions have warned of disruptions to learning in public schools following deadlock over negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement with the government. The warning comes with only 3 weeks left to the expiry of the 2021-2025 CBA that the union signed with the Teacher Service Commission. To compound the problem, there is no provision for improved salaries for teachers in the 2025-2026 budget. The Kenya National Union of Teachers, Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education and Kenya Union of Special Needs Education Teachers have all issued firm demands to the TAC, urging the employer to begin negotiations immediately or face industrial action. We submitted our proposals months ago, but instead of engaging the TAC, the TSC continues to hide behind the waiting for advice from Salaries and Remuneration Commission as an excuse, said NAT Deputy Secretary Hesbon Otieno. Senior officials of the TSC appeared before the Education Committee of the National Assembly on May 13th to present the 2025-2026 budget estimates, where they revealed that no funds had been allocated for a new CBA. Key areas that are not funded at all in the 2025-2026 budget for the TSC include the financial requirement for the CBA that is under negotiation. That's according to Cheptumo Ayabe, TSC's Director of Finance. Now, NAT is demanding a 60% adjustment in basic salaries over the 4-year period pegged on inflation alongside a 30% increase in allowances. Pretty much the unions are saying, We had a discussion with TSC and agreed on a new CBA, but even with that proposal, the budget estimates before the National Assembly does not represent this agreement they have with the TSC, and as a result, we are downing our tools.
Oi, I keep telling you guys, you don't even have to look very far for Wahala. For
Wahala, it's okay.
For problems.
You know, one would imagine that with all the problems we've had with the education sector, especially with the implementation of CBE, one would put more focus in education, making sure that all the loopholes have been sealed. Because now here's a question. This is not even about exams anymore. It's about teachers saying, we will equally just stay away from class because you've not represented our views and our wishes as given to you during our meetings.
Sasa mnataka aje? Doctors, they are. UHC health workers, clinical officers, nurses say they want to do, teachers now say they want to do. Seem to funge to home because I don't understand. Everywhere you look, there is a problem, and everybody's saying, you know what? We cannot die on this mountain. So,
you know, the current CBA is expiring on June 30th.
Yeah. 10th.
Today's 10th. So 20 more days to go.
Yeah.
So they have to put pressure because TSC, which was supposed to have this conversation, did not include any salary increments in the current 2025-2026 budget. And
meanwhile,
now,
the boss who negotiated that deal has gone on terminal leave.
Yes. But she also says that, every time this conversation is coming up with TSC, the story is, we submitted our proposals months ago, but we are waiting for advice from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Hata sisi tunangoja. This is the deputy Nat who was saying this. So here is an issue of hata sisi tunangojea, and we have 20 days to go.
Our hands are tied.
It's definitely the deputy Nat.
Yeah.
It is.
Wow, the deputy Nat. Okay.
Meanwhile, just when you thought it was safe to get out of the water, In 2007-2008, one of the worst conflicts that Kenya has ever experienced was the post-election violence, right? The deaths that happened, the violence that occurred was horrific. And because of that, as is normal with an internal conflict, there are displaced people. Now, people were driven out of their homes, driven off of their ancestral land, whatnot, and they had to then go find solace or refuge in other parts of the country. The government thereafter, there was some kind of calm or peace, settled these individuals in areas that were not, necessarily theirs. So they essentially were IDP camps, internally displaced camps. Now, they are temporary setups. That is how they are designed. In international humanitarian law, people who ratify certain treaties then are required to have these makeshift camps for people who've been displaced internally. They are temporary in nature. That means temporary within those tenets means the term that they're talking about is 6 months to 2 years. Okay? So within that time, and after the conflict issues have been resolved, etc., and that you start going towards normalcy, that then you should essentially shut those camps. We're not talking about refugee camps, mind you. That you should essentially shut those camps, and that people should then go back to some kind of normalcy. I don't know what your counting looks like, but for me, 2 to 17 is quite a number. Because 17 years later, the displaced post-election violence victims remain in camps. You think I'm joking? I'm not. Joseph Courier is one of them. He's 64 and he lives in a cramped makeshift shelter in a crowded settlement within Pipeline Estate in Nakuru town. His dwelling, barely 21 feet, is home to his family of 5 and is among thousands built by the internally displaced persons on a congested 16-acre parcel of land. It's been 17 years since the 2007-2008 post-election violence, since it changed Courier's life irreversibly. Once a worker on a sisal farm in Mungai where he lived with his wife and 4 children, Courier recalls a life of dignity, security and stability that he's not been able to attain until now. They say we're still in trauma. If only we had been properly settled, we would have moved on with our lives. Now, that is on page 13 of the Standard. On page 12, the state has now said that us, 6.5 billion shillings in IDPs compensation. We, never. Who is this person who is saying never? There's a mystery surrounding the long-delayed compensation of victims of the 2007-2008 post-election violence. It has deepened following the government's recent declaration that it is under no legal obligation to compensate them. At least 6.5 billion shillings had been earmarked for compensating IDPs and affected the post-election skirmishes that engulfed the country. High Court Judge Joel Ngugi halted the disbursement of the funds after a group of 96,000 victims complained that compensation was being issued to imposters. So, you can go there and tell me I was displaced. And they say, okay, how much? Well, my house went and said, here's 1 million shillings. Go. I said, no. So Joel Ngugi said, hold on a minute. There's some mago going on here. We're not going to allow it. 8 years on, the case is still unresolved. It's still in court. The court records indicate that the saga began when an NGO registered victims of the poll violence to seek compensation. Now, amid all of this, the state has said they're displaced. Not our monkey, not our forest. We don't have to pay. Pay who? Pay what?
Sisi, deni yenu, ulisikia wapi?
You know the PS Raymond Omolo denied any binding duty.
Yeah.
So this is a moral favor.
Yeah.
But
we'll be doing you a favor.
It's more than a moral favor. But also, given that when this happened, and I'm speaking from a point of information, there are several MPs, I'll not mention, during that period. Most of them are actually not current MPs.
Yeah.
They sent people into those camps.
Yep.
So it ended up being an issue of who are the verified genuine IDPs that we're going to be compensating, because there was money that is involved. So it becomes a very complicated story.
Indeed. It does. Guys, you don't have to look. You'll find them.
Yeah.
Good morning at 7 a.m.
Spice up your 94.4 SpiceFM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Lel Ubanga. A 3-judge bench appointed by Chief Justice Martha Koome to hear and decide the case filed in the court challenging the swearing-in of the chairperson and 6 commissioners of the IEBC has been scheduled to be heard on June 23rd. Judges Roslyn Aburili, John Tigiti, and Bahati Mwamoye delivered the verdict after the prosecution and the petitioners submitted their responses. Last month, President William Ruto appointed Erastus Odang at the Corn as the chairperson of the IEBC, while Anderitu, Moses Mukhwana, Mary Karen Sorobit, Hassan Nur, Francis Odhiambo and Fahima Abdallah were appointed as commissioners of the commission. However, petitioners Calvin Roy Omondi and Boniface Mwangi filed a case for the Chief Justice to quash their appointments, saying they violated the Constitution. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has moved to calm growing public anger following the government's plan to phase out the national examination fee waiver, assuring Kenyans that the government will cover the cost of national exams for all students this year. In an interview with the local TV station, Mbadi clarified that while initial budget allocations did not include funds for exams such as the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education exams, the Treasury has since made the money available. Previously, Mbadi cited the unsustainability of the decade-long exam subsidy against budget deficits as the reason the government was scrapping the waiver.
Initially, we didn't provide for examination, but we made the money available. What the government did in the cabinet, we said the way the funding for examination is being spent, we didn't like it. We don't understand why examination should be printed out of the country. Yet we print passports here, which are among security risk documents. So we said the ministry must come up with a more realistic. We cannot spend 11 billion in administering exams in this country. Come up with a more realistic structure of funding examination.
An independent committee investigating organ and tissue transplant services in the country and several allegations involving medical hospitals has begun the process of listening to the views of the public in Eldoret to Uasin Gishu County. Speaking at the Eldoret Town Hall, the chairperson of the committee, Professor Elizabeth Bukusi, said that the views of the public will greatly help in assessing the governance, ethics, laws and medical procedures of organ and tissue transplant services across the country and establishing a legal framework for organ and tissue transplants.
Our responsibility is to be able to investigate all the services that are being offered within this country that provide tissue or organ transplantation, and to determine if they are being done appropriately and at what standards and what levels, and if there is adequate regulation and policy that enables these services to be offered appropriately for Kenyan citizens. This week, we are here in Uasin Gishu, and we are going to be here for 4 days, where we are providing an opportunity for anybody who has any interest in this area to be able to provide information to the task force.
The lawyer for Medihill Hospitals, Katwa Kigan, on his part said that the management of the hospitals will cooperate with the committee in its investigation.
He'll participated today in the process, and Medihill turned up with a view to confirming their preparedness to cooperate with the committee to avail all the material the committee may require to satisfy itself on the propriety of the transplants that were done by Medihill. And in our appearance before the committee today, we made those assurances. We confirmed having delivered the documents. We confirmed our preparedness to.
Senators have raised concerns over the shortage of essential vaccines in hospitals across the country. The lawmakers said babies' lives were at risk, adding that the shortage undermines the national immunization program and threatens to reverse decades of progress in disease prevention. Kajiado Senator Seki Lenku Ole Kanar, in a statement, said that there is a growing concern among parents and healthcare providers over the persistent unavailability of critical vaccines, specifically BCG and oral polio vaccines. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, on your side.
Okay, the morning is a busy one and there's traffic starting to build and it's coming off of, where is this? This is Langata Road, and then you're going to get towards the Uhuru Gardens interchange and there's traffic then that's heavy on Langata Road heading out towards Raila Odinga Way in one direction and then down towards Nyayo Stadium in the other. So it's manageable for now. There is some traffic also then coming in from Kiambu Road, quite some of that. It's heavy bumper to bumper through and through Muthaiga Square, and on the Thika Superhighway it's coming in heavy all the way from Clayworks out towards Garden City, just past Kasarani, and then through towards Survey, where your service lanes come to an end. So that is busy. As we look at traffic coming off of the Outer Ring, a little bit of that just at the junction. Outer Ring is busy. It's moving though for the most part. And as you come from the side of North Airport Road, it is busy as well. Where is this? This is all the way from the Ruai interchange, Kangundo Road, crossing over towards from Jiro, and then now here we are on North Airport Road, all the way from Embakasi out towards the Cabanas interchange. Very, very busy this morning. So it's building up. Tuesday looks like it's going to be one for the books. We'll be here for it. Keep things moving in whatever direction that we're going in. Help us out to keep things moving. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, empowering you to achieve your dreams and secure your future with our financial solutions across Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius. I&M Bank, on your
Mature,
side.
intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 9 minutes after 7. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Ndu, Dennis and Dennis with you as we get into things today. And it's the 10th of June. Did you know that it's Father's Day is coming up?
Father's Day is coming up.
All of you fathers in the house.
Father's Day is coming up, and an opportunity to say thank you to a demography that is usually not thanked enough. You know, So we all know that fatherhood is a journey of strength, wisdom, and sacrifice. And here on Situation Room, we often talk about making meaningful choices. And what meaningful choices are we talking about? So this Father's Day with Woolworths, here on the Situation Room, here's one. Give a dad a reason to smile. You know, Woolworths says that you need to relax and maybe even show off a little. Let's show our appreciation with a gift that speaks style and substance. Woolworths is offering 30% off all men's sleepwear. Dennis, sleepwear, knitwear, jackets, and coats until 16th June. Perfect for the dad who enjoys comfort, quality, and a little flair. I see you like jackets. So
Love
anyone
that.
out there, you know, Dennis's wife, you know what to get him.
Yes.
And whether it's a quiet night or a stylish evening with family, this is your chance to say thank you, Dad. Thank you, fathers out there. With quality, he'll feel something worthy of the man who's always been there. Visit your nearest Woolworths store today and shop in store. Terms and conditions apply. And at Woolworths, we'd say what? The difference. Ndu.
Indeed.
Father's Day.
Okay, Sawa.
I
We
like
know.
jackets.
We know what to do.
30%. Woolworths says.
Okay.
Come.
Sawa. We have understood. Got the message and got it clear. All right. So, as we're getting into conversations this hour, guys, it's good for us to have conversations around structure, and it's unfortunate that we're having such a conversation again at this point, that we have had too many conversations where we've had to ask questions about the reason why somebody died. Now, the headlines across carry the story of the murder of Albert Ojwang, and security chiefs are now under pressure to resolve the mysterious death of Albert Ojwang, a Voi-based teacher and blogger, an incident that has sparked nationwide outrage. Ojwang died hours after his arrest by detectives investigating a complaint by their boss, Mr. Lagat. We saw a series of events that then took place yesterday, is that at first waking up in the morning to the news of his death, which happened over the weekend. And then the first thing that we did see was that there were a number of statements that came from the NPS. The first one alleging that he had killed himself. He was booked into Central Police Station. That happened. And this is the reason why we then saw that the IG of police then called for the suspension of everybody who was present in Central for booking, Sentry, and all of these individuals then were put on suspension. The details as to who he was and what he did are clear. He had a young child, of course, his wife, and his parents, his father, he being the only child of his parents. And the reasons as to his arrest were being questioned by his father. We saw a number of testaments by his father yesterday, and said he was with him. They were eating outside on the stone slab just outside. And one thing that struck me was he said he had not even eaten enough. And these gentlemen then came and they asked for him. And he said, "Yes, that is my son. What is it that you want?" And he didn't understand what, but they decided to go with him, and he followed as best he could, because they then took him to Nairobi. The question that is now being asked, because now you have to look at the situation, is what happened between Homa Bay, where he was taken, and Nairobi, because then things happened very quickly in Nairobi at Central Police to the place where he was taken to Bagathi and pronounced dead at Bagathi. Remember, we didn't say he died at Bagathi. He was pronounced dead at Bagathi. And so questions arise as to whatever happened. We saw that there was an almost retraction of the initial statement by the National Police Service, whereby the allegation or the assumption was that there was a case of suicide in the cells, where it was said that he was banging his own head against the wall. And I think they did well, number one, to retract that, because it was clear that this is not what happened. But then the questions arise after that why are we not seeing that there is talk of what happened between Homa Bay and Nairobi and who was involved? Who are the individuals who picked him up in Homa Bay? Who are the individuals then who handed him over to Central Police Station Command? And where did they go? Unless I'm wrong, and I know that, again, I'm going to come back to you, Okari, on this, because I know that you've handled quite a number of these stories and these investigative pieces. And from a point of view of, I would assume that this is it, that there is an order of command within the police service, as with other disciplined forces, that you cannot just stand up and say that you're going to conduct an arrest or that you're going to conduct an investigation. You must do so under orders, and that you cannot leave your post to say that you're going to do 1, 2, 3 and bring an individual from one place to another if you have not been ordered to do so. Am I right? Okay.
Right.
So you cannot just do this on your own. So somebody gave the order, somebody requested that this be done. What cannot be the case is that somebody gave the order for him, from preliminary reports that are being seen, though they've not been made official yet. He didn't do this to himself. Now, is it enough that the individuals have been suspended pending investigation? Is it required that more people are asked of in terms of their involvement in this? And I keep going back to the individuals who took him from Homa Bay to Nairobi. Who were they? Under whose command were they operating? And who then received Odang from them that can give testament as to what happened? It seems as though we're paying attention to the nitty-gritty, but it's absolutely necessary and important for us to do that, because those are questions that we're asking. Will we see a couching of this information? Will we see a covering up of this information? Because that still has not come out. If truly the police service is interested in sorting this out, I believe, because you know what, guys? Just a few months ago, we were audience to less than 24 hours where bodies were found in Quarry, right? Dismembered bodies were found in Okari, and less than 24 hours later, there was an individual who was found. There were a number of phones that were found in his possession. There were a number of SIM cards that were also found in his possession, and he's said to have been the one who killed these women and dismembered them and threw them into the quarry. It did not take 24 hours. So my question is, you mean to tell me that on a Monday morning, we're now at Tuesday morning, when now it was official that this investigation was being conducted, it cannot be found who did what to this young man, in whose custody he was in, the names of the individuals who had him? Why don't we see speed and alacrity being applied to this situation the way we have seen in other cases? And that's my simple question. Why? Why can't it be quick? Why can't we see the dispensation of justice happen really quickly here? Why can't names be named? Why can't SIM cards be found? Why can't trails then be discovered? Why? Why?
You know, it's unfortunate when the people who hold the power, and recently we had the case, unfortunately, of MP Were, and we saw within 24 hours the strides into the investigation of his murder, and within 3 days, how many people had been mentioned?
And brought before court.
And it's not surprising, and it's not shocking, and it's not the first time this has happened in the history of this country, where purportedly, mwananchi wa kawaida, you can actually be arrested, you can die in police custody, and this case will take years. Look at Baby Pendo's story. But before I even digress, I want us to look at a few critical things here. Because I'm very keen with timelines, I'm also very keen with processes that went into this before we even come now to what exactly happened to Albert. Now, the issue here is police officers don't send themselves to go and make an arrest.
Okay.
Let's get that one clear.
Yeah.
So these officers, who will assumably be junior in rank, don't just travel to go to Homa Bay and go to this village and arrest this young man without orders. They were ordered. So who issues arrest orders? Now, at the station's level, you have the officer commanding station, who is the OCS. Okay? So the OCS is typically the one who authorizes junior officers to go and execute an arrest. Okay? And this is done, especially in cases where there's no warrant.
Okay.
Because we earlier spoke about a warrant or going to arrest without a warrant. Now, the investigating officers or the detectives in this case, in any ongoing investigation, they will go, especially from the DCI, they will go and recommend the arrest, and they must seek clearance from the OCS or the departmental head, depending on their rank and their unit. Now, the issue here is this. If there was an arrest with a warrant, issuing the warrant, so we know a warrant is issued by a magistrate or a court, usually following a sworn complaint or after someone fails to appear on a summons. Now, we hear the story that IG, the deputy IG, Eliud Lagat, was the complainant, and this was confirmed by the IG himself. Yes. There was a complaint. Now, what we need to understand is, was this complaint recorded anywhere, either in an OB, that warranted this arrest in the first place? Then we look at the press statement that came later, and my concern is the people who are apparently interdicted, and that's where I start picking my issue, because you can actually clearly tell when something is about to be bungled by how it's first handled. Yes. All right, the rule of first. So the update following the death of Albert Omondi Ojwang, you look at the statement from the National Police Service. They interdicted the following officers with immediate effect. It was the officer commanding station OCS, Central Police, the duty officer on duty during the night in question, that is still Central, the cell sentry on duty at the time, that is still Central, all officers who were on duty at the report office that night, that is still Central.
Yep.
So let's assume that is the crime scene, all right? So line number 5, any other officer found to have been on duty or otherwise involved in the incident. The question I'm asking is this: who are these detectives who stormed the rural home of Ojwang in Homa Bay and made the arrest? We're not hearing anything about them.
The ones who spoke to his father directly,
yes,
and supposedly identified themselves. Remember that his father did not say they told me their names.
Yes.
He said they identified themselves as police officers na kulikuwa na kesi na kijana yako.
Yes.
That is what they said.
Yes.
All right, that's what the father said. Identified themselves by name. We do not know if they did that, but in this rundown that you're giving, Dennis, we do not see them being mentioned.
There's no mention of one. You know, we may say, okay, fine, there's a demand to know who these people are in terms of their names. What we know is their ranks at Central Police. We don't know their names. However, the detectives who are on motorbikes who went to arrest this young man, we don't know their ranks. We don't know who they are. They're not mentioned in this investigation. So given that this is what is currently, this is what you're being told, I looked at the story, and when looking at the story, first, there's an issue here. Where is Homa Bay, and why was he moved from Homa Bay to Nairobi? So Ojwang was arrested at Kakot village in Homa Bay. So the first point where he was moved from, now his village, was where? Mawego police station in Homa Bay. That was the first place where he went, all right? Or rather, they took him. They transported him over 385 kilometers to Nairobi. Now, if you calculate, how many hours will it take if you're driving, let's say, at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour from Homa Bay to Nairobi? You're looking at roughly, with traffic and any other issues, you're roughly looking at 5 hours. Yes. So at what point was he brought to Central when all this was happening? This was around 9 p.m. So we've got a couple of hours which you can honestly not account for. Logically speaking, you cannot account for. We don't know from Homa Bay all the way to Nairobi what was happening in that vehicle. We don't know whether they stopped anywhere else to do anything else, because you can assume any journey, you're moving from Homa Bay to Nairobi, you might want to take a break, go to a washroom somewhere. We don't know whether that happened. So along this journey, we don't know exactly what happened, because by the time he was being brought to Central, the story is he was already bleeding. He was already not okay. So what happened along the way? It is the officers who are in this vehicle with Ojwang. We are not told anything about them. So the people have been interdicted are the people who actually received him. But they're not the ones who are the arresting officers. These were people who are just on normal duty at the police station. And what is unfortunate and what I see happening here is the person who issued these orders is sitting comfortably somewhere in an air-conditioned office, red carpet, having tea. But junior officers who, for some reason, were on duty that day are the ones who are being interdicted
in this case. When you follow that story, in fact, before even Albert left the father's home, there is something Albert told the dad. Tell them to keep me in a place where I can breathe because I am asthmatic. That was in a story that I covered yesterday. But then again, if you look at Ojwang was arrested alongside Mr. Kevin Moinde following the investigations by detectives from DCI Serious Crime Unit and Cybercrime Unit, according to the police, right? So that is Kevin Moinde who was arrested alongside. But Kevin was set up at Kamkunji police station. Now, in this the way you've explained it, did Kevin ever know his crime? Was it read out to him when the police were identified?
But was there a crime?
No, because he was being arrested for an alleged crime.
Did he know the reason why he was being arrested
for? You know? Did he know that? No. The order, the complaint that was that the DIG had given, has it been recorded anywhere?
No.
That's another glaring issue. And then we also have the cell where Albert was put. Was he alone in that cell? We all have been. I have been to Central Police Station, the cells, and it is very rare for you to find someone alone in a cell. That is another question. Did he have other inmates in there? And what is their statement at the time? That is equally empty. And then there is one thing about our police and how good they are at doing their job. There's something Martha Karua told us here last time. When the police are left to do their job, they're really very good at doing it. That is with regard to when the MP died. Here we're being told 24 hours later, we are unable to piece in the evidence to find out what exactly happened to Ojwang.
Okay.
All these things is being hidden.
You know, if you look at the immediate response when carrying out an investigation, in my simple understanding, where this happened, there's a missing piece. So the focus is central. Fine. You can actually then preserve the crime scene by arguing, let's lock down Central Police Station where he was last seen, all right? Okay, you can say secure all the CCTVs footage, whether it's inside the cells, outside the cells, corridors, booking area, just secure the place. There was a story that water was found in that cell, and there were traces of blood on the walls. So if there are traces of blood on the walls, the question then you want to ask is, so the police say he hit his head on the wall. So was it multiple times or was it once? Then he fell? Because if you have traces of blood around the walls,
splatter,
whose blood was it? You know, the thing is, when you look at the autopsy and forensic evidence collection, you look at the autopsy and the evidence collection now from the crime scene, when they will conduct the postmortem, obviously the postmortem will reveal what exactly happened. But here, you're looking to test one, internal bleeding. You're going to be looking for physical trauma or signs of torture or signs of restraint. The question I keep asking myself is, what happened on the road? Because these things didn't happen when they arrived in Nairobi. It's very clear, this thing, chances are, and you look at the pattern of arrests of even people who've been abducted, and the stories we've had from people who've been abducted, they will tell you, the beating doesn't start when you arrive.
No, it doesn't.
It starts the moment you get into that vehicle, you are sandwiched between these people.
There's something you said that is very critical, in the sense that let us secure Central, let us secure and whatnot. Where is this vehicle? Have you secured this vehicle to dust it out and find out what exactly the evidence you can get from that vehicle?
Good question.
It is necessary. So I think I'm just reading through what Albert's father said, and he actually did say that one of the individuals that identified himself as an Officer Sige, right? He did say this, that there were 3 of 3 motorbikes and that there were 6 officers. One of them identified himself by name. So one would have expected that this individual would be amongst those who then were called upon. But you know what we're doing here, and I think it's absolutely necessary for us to do that, is start to ask the questions and then start to find the gaps from a layman's point of view. But remember that the folks who then answer the questions or piece this together are skilled in what they do. So in this case, it's the police essentially investigating the police. You think they don't know that there are gaps?
They do.
You think they don't know the questions that are being asked right now, that was he alone in a cell? Usually when you're booked for whatever, not wearing your seatbelt or obstruction, you're crammed into that thing like sausages in a pack and everybody's looking for a way to call the person to get them out of the cell, right? But in this case, that's not the issue. This gentleman was not in the presence of many other people who were booked into Central. That's clear. It's obvious. My question is just one thing here. And I mean, it's great because we have we have these fillers in this conversation, but my question is one thing. Why over 24 hours later do we not have any substantial information? With the same police service who can tell us that somebody escaped prison in Kakamega and 24 hours later was found somewhere in a bush in Ukambani. This happened in Kenya. That the same police service cannot tell us that they don't know what happened in a controlled space like Central Police Station, in a controlled space in a vehicle. The man did not walk by himself from Homa Bay to Nairobi. He was in a controlled space, a vehicle with officers, right? They didn't go on borders, pickies that arrived at Homa Bay and his home all the way to Nairobi. That didn't happen. So in those controlled spaces, what happened? You mean to tell me that they can't tell us? In a controlled space in Central Police, what happened? They cannot tell us? In a controlled space, Bagavi, where he's said to have been brought, something may or may not have happened, they cannot tell us? And don't tell me that they still need time to figure out what happened, because we have seen complicated situations whereby answers have been given to us in no time. I'm still going back to the Okari situation where there were dismembered body parts found in sacks, and within the next morning, we read it here in the morning. Yeah. The next morning, we were already told that there were 43 SIM cards, 16 phones. They were all displayed on a table. They could pinpoint to the very place where he slept, breathed, and ate. Then you want to tell me that in controlled spaces, you cannot tell us what happened, who was involved, when it happened, where it happened, and at what time?
Of course, they know what happened. And, one of the things I was also looking out for, I don't know if you guys noticed during the press briefing yesterday, the people who are there, one figure that I just kept, and I want you to go back to that video, just watch that video of that press briefing, and look at the body language of the officers, look at the body language of the IG, Kanja, look at the body language of Deputy IG, Eliud Lagat, and look at the body language of Issa Kassan, who's the chairperson of the board of IPOA. The entire time, even by the time he's coming to speak and saying they're going to investigate this so that the family will know exactly what happened. You look at, he was in deep thoughts. He looked troubled. He looked like he's the one who's very remorseful in this situation. When I was looking at the body language of the rest, and I'm sorry to say that, it's just my personal observation. You can clearly tell when somebody is shocked by something that has happened, the manner in which they behave, the manner in which they are speaking. I couldn't see, in my opinion, I couldn't see through remorse that this is sad. What happened was sad. Whether it was sanctioned or not, it is terrible. With or without looking at evidence, the young man is dead. The father and the family is crying. I spoke to a family, somebody close to the family yesterday. The family is in pain. And one of the things that he was telling me, this gentleman, was, Dennis, where are the leaders? Who is speaking? Because he's going to be another statistic. It's just going to be another person who's just died.
And we can't allow that
the family is waiting to see, okay, this happened in Homa Bay. Is anybody from our leadership speaking about this? Is anybody going to help us find justice? And where will they get this justice? Is when voices are raised. But who is raising these voices?
We are going to go to a break. It's 25 minutes to 8 o'clock. But even as we do, we're going to do a little bit of information that's come to us, and that is from our fraternity brothers at Citizen TV. They've obtained exclusive information regarding the ongoing investigation into the death of Albert Odang while in police custody. This is what the authorities, they're relying heavily on CCTV footage to put and piece together the final moments of his detention at Central Police Station. Now, according to the occurrence book, which is the OB, he was the 59th suspect admitted to the station. He was booked at 2:35 a.m. under the charge of false publication. Just 1 hour and 10 minutes later, at 3:45 a.m., his death was officially recorded and signed off by 2 officers. I'm going to say that again. According to the occurrence book, he was the 59th suspect admitted to the station, booked at 2:35 a.m. under the charge of false publication. Just 1 hour and 10 minutes later, at 3:45 a.m., his death was officially recorded and signed off by 2 officers. Now, the timeline has become central to investigation. Officers from the Independent Policing Oversight Authority present at the station for a second consecutive day. The heavy police presence both inside and outside the station reflects the gravity of the situation. Now, let's look at a preliminary review of the station. Security setup reveals that 8 surveillance cameras positioned across 6 key locations within Central Police Station. 4 were mounted at the main entrance, 2 facing outward, 2 facing inward, and 2 other monitors reporting the area adjacent to the holding cells. Now, they recovered several pieces of evidence from the holding cell where Odang was detained. There was a pair of blood-stained white Crocs, a black top with visible blood marks, a wet maroon sweater, a water bottle, a transparent plastic cup, a jug, and a tumbler. Now, the sources indicated that the cell had blood stains on both the walls and the floor, and that the water was also smeared across the floor. Okay, so that's what it looks like right now. We'll give you details of a little bit more of that statement when we come back from this break. But this is what we can see: that by the time it is clear from this occurrence book, if there's anything to go by, that by the time he was leaving Central Police Station, he was dead. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This June on Next Superstar, the pressure is on. The search for Africa's next hitmaker just got fiercer. Don't miss a moment. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded free to the next high bouquet for 60 days. It's vocal battles, show-stopping performances, and edge-of-your-seat showdowns. Who will judges' motive, size 8 and King Kaka choose to move on to the next round? You can also buy a DTT StarTimes decoder at our business halls countrywide. Dial *858# for self-service or call our customer care on 0730-710077. Offer starts June 13th to August 16th, 2025. Terms and conditions apply. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life. This June on Next Superstar, the pressure is on. It's vocal battles, show-stopping performances, and edge-of-your-seat showdowns. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 60 days to watch the battle unfold on Rainbow TV+. The search for Africa's next hitmaker just got hotter. Renew your subscription today and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months free. Who will judges' motive, size 8, and King Kaka choose to move on to the next round? On the move, stream Next Superstar live on StarTimes On. Anytime, anywhere. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank. On your side.
At a few minutes going into traffic hour, and there's heavy traffic coming on North Airport Road heading towards that Cabanas interchange. There's traffic on Outer Ring in and outbound on this side of things, and also on the other side as you get towards the Thika Superhighway. It's heavy coming in from Githurai through towards Kasarani, out towards Garden City, and then on to Survey. So that's very busy all the way into the CBD, going right around Moranga Road. It's also very busy as you're coming in from Kiambu Road today. Quite some traffic here, and the Muru Road has started to pick up in and outbound traffic. Is getting to bumper status really quickly. As you come off of Waiaki Way, it's also busy here, and there's traffic on Gong Road. Everywhere is starting to build. Langata Road was busy from the jump, and we're likely to see that get busier so as we traverse traffic hour this morning. Find a sticky spot, let us know. We'll give you that great route out, or if you find a great route that folks can use this morning, let us know that as well. It's foggy as you leave the city, so fog lights up, you will need them. We'll talk and keep things moving. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, empowering you to achieve your dreams and secure your future with our financial solutions across Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius. I&M Bank, on your side.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Are you passionate about creating a better future for Kenya? So is the I&M Foundation, the social investment arm of I&M Bank Kenya. For the past 5 years, the I&M Foundation has been making a real difference, investing a significant 2% of the bank's annual profit, the highest commitment in the Kenyan banking sector, into impactful programs. So their work focuses on vital areas like education and skills development, economic empowerment, and enabling giving. But today, we want to highlight their leadership in environmental conservation. The I&M Foundation is dedicated to protecting our precious natural heritage through strategic partnerships and community-driven initiatives, ensuring a suitable, sustainable future for all. They believe in impact, and are achieving it through focused action. As we renew our pact to keep impacting, learn more about the I&M Foundation's vital work and how you can potentially collaborate by visiting inmbankgroup.com/foundation to learn more. Powered by I&M Bank. We're looking and trying to piece things together, and oftentimes we say, I've seen a number of comments, even as we have this conversation, necessary for us to do. And folks are asking, well, let the police do their work. And then why are we all so riled up about this issue? And why is it gripping everybody? Well, because one of these cases is one too many. Yeah. But sadly and unfortunately, we have seen more than one. And we have also seen cases whereby the same police service moves with speed and alacrity. Just a few weeks ago, like you said, Okari, that the former member of parliament, may God rest his soul, Ongondo Were, was killed. He was killed. So was Albert. Albert was killed. He did not die of natural causes. He was killed. The question is, why don't we see the same application of investigative or interrogation? Why don't we see the same thing here? And that you say, oh, they're putting it together. No, it was a controlled space. The space within which this thing happened is their space. It's the police space. It was the vehicles that took him from Homa Bay. Somebody's asking me, how many police stations are there between Homa Bay and Nairobi? That's a good question. But at the end of the day, the person who gave the order was waiting in Nairobi for them to come so that they could do whatever it is that they needed to do. And we don't even know. Was this an accidental death? Was it an accident? Did you kill him by mistake? What exactly happened here? And that's why we need to ask the questions that we're asking, because it's Albert Ojwang today, it's another Kenyan tomorrow. And this has been the case whereby we even see an inquest today into the death of Rex Masai. And what are we being told? That there was a secret deployment that was authorized by police. It is before court. What are these things that we are seeing, and why is it so easy to cover up issues when it comes to? We've seen calls and we've heard calls from different leaders yesterday who are saying it doesn't matter who it was. Find out who it was and let that person pay the price for this great loss that they have caused. We have too many of these situations in the country to just let it slide. And I don't understand. It's dragging the feet. And it may sound insensitive, but they are dragging their feet on this matter. Suffice to say, they know what happened, they know who did it, they know where it happened and what happened. We just read that statement that comes courtesy of Citizen TV, who told us very clearly that they have been able to gather, and that the IPOA and the police service are now stringing together evidence, and they're trying to create a timeline around the things that happened in that cell. There's blood on the wall.
Not wall. Ndu.
There's
blood on the walls.
On the walls. There's blood on the walls. There were blood-stained white Crocs on the floor. There was water all over the place. There was smeared. There was, and according to the book, somebody wrote it down. Do you understand? For it to appear in the occurrence book, it is not by magic. Somebody wrote it down that he was brought into the station at 2:45 a.m. Who brought him? Somebody has to hand him over. Who handed him over? He died at 2:45. Somebody must have been told, hey man, this gentleman is dead. He then left at 3:45. Rather, at 3:45 he was then pronounced dead. It was written in the OB book. So this thing that they told us, that later on is when he was pronounced dead at Bagavi, who are we kidding? Did the statement from the NPS before it was put together not realize that in the OB book at this controlled space, I keep insisting on controlled space of Central Police, that the occurrence book stated very clearly at 3:45 a.m. that Albert Ojwang is dead. We are kidding ourselves here about how we're taking this thing.
Ndu, even then, when the occurrence book says 3:45 a.m. is dead, who really declares someone dead? I think it's the doctors, no?
Well, I mean, it happens. Remember what I'm saying?
Yeah,
controlled space. And these are police officers. He died in a police station. It is in the occurrence book at 3:45 that gentleman is dead.
You know, the conflicting statements here.
Yeah, there's too many.
Initially, the police had said that Ojwang died after hitting his head against the wall in the cell. Now we know that there's blood, or blood was found on the walls. So he died hours after his arrest by detectives. So how did he hit his head around the walls of the cell? Because that's where blood was found. Now, the other statements, look guys, the timeline is key in investigations here. And I have two theories. My first theory is, when they were going to make this arrest over this, investigating this publication and on social media, X or Facebook, at the time they're making this arrest, they're transporting him from Homa Bay. They went to first Mawego police station in Homa Bay before driving over 385 kilometers to Nairobi. If you look at the timeline of events, at the time of the arrest, it was 1:30 in the afternoon. Ojwang is having lunch with his father. Detectives show up in motorbikes.
Yeah, let's do that actually. Go ahead.
Yeah. They say, we are arresting your son because of XYZ. They take him. The father does not accompany them. So the father is left at home. So, from the point where now he leaves the homestead, goes to Mawego police station in Homa Bay, then is transported all the way to Nairobi. Calculate if a motor vehicle is moving at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. We said it's 5 hours from Homa Bay to Nairobi.
Oh, we're assuming he's going on a motorbike.
No, not motorbike. Of course, it's a motor vehicle.
There we go.
And so, when they arrested him at 1:30, by 6:30 they should have been in Nairobi,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So, by the time he's being booked at Central Police Station, it's 2:35 a.m. This is slightly over 13 hours. Slightly over 13 hours from the time of his arrest. He is now officially booked at Central Police.
So, leaving Homa Bay, specifically the village was?
The village is called Kakot Village in Homa Bay.
Now, he was leaving at 1:30?
At 1:30.
That is when the father said at that time they took him.
Yes, 1:30 he's been arrested.
Okay.
Then
1:30 to 1:30 in the morning, 12 hours. He was booked at 2:30. 2:45.
2:45.
Yes.
So it's okay,
2:35 a.m.
13 hours later.
Yes.
13 hours later.
It doesn't take 13 hours to get from Homa Bay to Nairobi, no? Okay.
Even Nairobi to Mombasa is not 13 hours.
You could go and come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So he's booked at Central 13 hours later. That is 2:35 a.m. At 3:45, how long is that? From 2:35 a.m. to 3:45 a.m.
1 hour,
Slightly,
10 minutes.
Sorry?
1 hour, 10 minutes.
Then he's found dead. So it took 13 hours to get this young man from the time of his arrest to being booked at Central. Then over an hour later, he's found dead inside the cell. Come on, are we kidding ourselves?
Let's just say
and then look at my two theories of this. So the first theory is, remember, it's not just Ojwang was arrested. There's a story here of the DCI investigating Mr. Kelvin Moinde.
Yes.
So there's a second person who was arrested, all right? Now, Kevin Moinde was arrested and he was taken to Kamukunji police station. Moinde is not dead.
Yes.
So I'm looking at a case here. Could it be, one, the order issued, because I don't know whether the order was to kill or rather execute Ojwang, or is it a case of overzealous officers who are beating this young man who was asthmatic, as his father was saying, and very frail, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, wait a minute, we've beaten this young man and this is now beyond.
It's beyond us.
Now this is beyond us. Suddenly, he's dead. Moinde is not dead. So now is a case where they were supposed to maybe make an arrest, maybe torture, or maybe harass, scare, instill fear, and then maybe later release. Now all of a sudden, the young man is dead.
Yes.
Now they don't know how exactly they're going to handle and manage this situation, because the person who's the complainant is the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Lagat, who was standing next to the IG when issuing this press briefing of what exactly happened. In the interdiction, the center of focus is Central Police Station. We are not told anything about Mawego Police Station.
You're not told about 13 hours in a police
We're not told
vehicle.
about the 13 hours from the time of arrest to the time he's being booked. Where exactly did he go? What? Because this is not a criminal offense.
It's not.
You look at the manner in which this was handled, you'll assume this is a criminal. This is a serious criminal.
No.
But it's not a criminal offense. So why would you handle a young man in that manner? By the time he's being booked at Central, then he's dead on Sunday morning. 59th suspect admitted to the station. The other question is, on a weekend, on a typical weekend, go to any police cell in Nairobi, and in this case, go to Central. So if he was the 59th suspect, because all the suspects arrested are supposed to be taken to court on Monday. This is Saturday, right? This is Saturday. Or this is Sunday morning, 2:35 a.m., Sunday morning. So in a couple of hours, they're supposed to be presented to court. So all these 58 people, that whole day, were released by the time Ojwang was being arrested, and he was alone in a cell.
And let's even assume that they were there. What was the distribution of these individuals in the cells? How many were men, how many were women? And even Ojwang, was he in isolation? And even if he was in isolation, other inmates, what's their statement of accounts on what happened to Ojwang?
Can we be real? You see these questions we're asking? This question we're asking about what happened in those 13 hours in the vehicle? Because he wasn't walking around the city, right? It was 13 hours in a vehicle. He was picked up. Maybe he was transported on a motorcycle to a vehicle, and then from a vehicle started the journey, or whatever they did. 13 hours in another location in a vehicle until he got to Nairobi into Central at 2:45 a.m. They know. Between 2:45 a.m. and 3:45 a.m. when he was booked as dead, and we're asking the question, what happened? They know. We're asking the question, how did blood get on the walls? How did blood get on the floor? How did he turn up dead? Guess what? They know. We're asking the question about what happened to him. Who did this? Who beat him up? They know. You know why I'm saying they know? It's not even about conviction. It's not even about right or wrong. They know. Because it is the same police service who have told us so many times on so many other occasions in different circumstances that they've been able to pinpoint to the very location, and they're able to get information about the occurrings that happened. They know. What I don't know is why they are taking so long to put the picture together and present it to Kenyans and tell you that these are the individuals who are responsible for the death of Albert Ojwang.
My questions are
They
6.
know.
They do. My questions are 6. First, who issued the order to arrest? The authority to make this arrest. Who issued the order? Number 2, who are the detectives who arrested him in this village? Number 3, which vehicle transported him to Nairobi from Homa Bay? Number 4, what happened to him along the way? Can we account for the 13 hours that he was in police custody? Number 5, where else did they take him between Mawego police station in Homa Bay ending up at Central Police, booked at 2:35 in the morning? Then, at the time of booking, was he okay? Then the last question, and it's a friend of mine who's asked me, Paul Njuk is asking me to ask. Kindly ask this for me, please. Who said he hit his head, and where was that recorded and by who?
The first statement that came from the National Police Service, in fact, I saved the document. I have it here. Can I read it for you? Let me tell you exactly what that statement read, and it read thusly. Can I say thusly? Dun-dun-dun. The first statement that came from them: clarification of the death of Albert Omondi Ojwang, and this was on the 8th of June, which was Sunday, for immediate release, and it was signed by the National Police Service Directorate Corporate Communications spokesman Mushiri Nyaga. The National Police Service, NPS, has noted reports circulating on social media regarding the death of a suspect allegedly in custody at Central Police Station. Take that as you may. NPS confirms that Albert Omondi Ojwang was lawfully arrested by DCI detectives for false publication and placed in custody. While in custody, the suspect sustained head injuries after hitting his head against the cell wall. This was the first statement from them. Police officers on duty promptly noticed the injuries and rushed him to Bagathi Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. This statement that came from the NPS, with my full chest, is a lie. Is a lie. You know why? Because the next statement on the next day, the 9th of June, which was yesterday, came, and it is labeled an update. Following the death of Albert Omondi Ojwang, the National Police Service wishes to inform the public that following the tragic death of Mr. Albert Ojwang while in police custody at Central Police Station. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
The first statement said what? He hit his head and he was transported to Bagathi.
Bagathi, where he was declared.
This statement now says what? He sustained injuries while at Central Police Station, and that he died a tragic death at Central Police. Same police service, statement on the 8th, statement on the 9th. Was the one on the 8th not a lie?
Guys, I think Albert was just tortured.
Yeah.
They didn't expect the guy was going to die. And all of a sudden they have to cook up statements. And if you look at the statements, it's just in plain sight. You can clearly see. So if he had injuries inside the cell, did he inflict these injuries on himself? The post-mortem report will actually authenticate this. You know, even when somebody dies, the body will still speak.
Yeah.
If a crime was committed, the person may not be able to speak. Albert Ojwang may not be able to come out and say, this is what happened to me. His body, though dead, he will speak. He will tell us what exactly happened to him. The autopsy report will reveal. And here's the thing. If you say that he hit his head on a wall, so there was blood that was found on the walls. Not one wall.
Walls, yeah.
Like around the walls, there was blood. Whose blood was it? So he went ahead, hit himself several times along the walls.
Come on.
Whose blood
are
was
we
on the
kidding
floor?
ourselves? It's why do we kid ourselves? I mean, it's clear, and this is my point. Here is this: this is an opportunity for the police, for the first time, at least, or for once, to now say, you know what, this thing happened. He died in our custody, and the person responsible is not these junior officers who actually booked him. Let's forget. Let's avoid these sideshows of we interdicted the officers at Central. They're not the ones who arrested this young man. He was brought there. They just happened to be on duty. Just assume this, Ndu and Dennis. You're here with me. If somebody walks inside this studio and brings a guest here, We have no control who has just come in. We are not aware.
Yeah.
If something happens, so the three of us will be interdicted, and we are not the ones who brought this person in. How did they pass through security? How did they cross all these doors?
Who told them it was okay to come in the first place?
Exactly.
You have to ask those questions.
So why punish junior officers and lay claim that we're investigating this by it's another thing to say we're collecting statements or investigate this matter by collecting statements from these people as witnesses. They saw this young man being brought in. Who brought Ojwang to Central Police? Because an arrest was made. Who brought him?
My question is simple. Mawego Police Station, did he record a statement there? DIG Lagat, did you give the order? DCI Amin, what are you saying about this?
I agree that let this be the first time where you can actually stand up before Kenyans and say, you know what, we mucked up here.
Yeah.
We did a terrible thing here. Somebody has to pay, and actually be bold enough to name those people who did this and make them pay for what they did. There will be no recompense for a life that has been lost, but you owe it. You have the responsibility of coming out and telling people what happened and letting the people who did this actually pay the price at 8 a.m.
SpiceFM.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubaga. The family of Albert Omondi Ojwang, a young man who died in police custody in Nairobi, are now demanding justice. Albert's mother, Yukabeth Ojwang, has said her son did not deserve to die, adding that if he would have been brought to justice if he was suspected of wrongdoing instead of being killed.
Ombi letu, tunadai haki kwa mtoto wetu ambaye ameshatuacha. Hatutakuwa na mengine zaidi. Tunajua kuna mamlaka. Kweli bainike. Nasi pia tupate kuambiwa mahali mtoto wetu alikosea, na tutakuwa radhi kwa mamlaka waliokosea.
Na sasa hayuko na ni mtoto wa kipekee. Tunaomba serikali kwa roho safi wa unyenyekevu, serikali ituangalie ili tupate ukweli wa kifo cha huyu mtoto. Tutatembea hadi tufike mwisho wa mali ambao ukweli inatokea. Tunataka ukweli, serikali tuambie, hawa wote wajue ni nini kiletendeka.
This comes as calls continue for Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat to resign over allegations of involvement in Ojwang's murder. Lagat, who Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja admitted was the complainant that led to Ojwang's arrest, was reportedly upset with the young man's social media posts about him.
Ojwang was arrested together with a few others. This is because there was a complaint that had been launched by the DIG KPS about his name being tarnished. So it is on that basis that investigations were actually being carried out, because he also have got a right to be protected by the same law. Thank you.
LSK President Faith Odhiambo has called on the police department to show its readiness to assist in the investigation by IPOA.
While we note the efforts by the Inspector General in interdicting officers believed to have been involved in the conspiracy that led to Albert's death to pave way for investigation, the same is far from sufficient in resolving the matter. First of all, we ask the Inspector General of Police, why hasn't he named the particular officers that have been interdicted? What is the need of hiding? Let Kenyans know, and the ambiguity of saying in any other officer. Who are these any other officers? And secondly, the officers who picked Mr. Albert Ojwang from Homa Bay, are they part and parcel of those who have been interdicted? We want to know who are these officers, the ones who picked Mr. Albert Ojwang, are they part and parcel of those interdicted?
Still in Martyr security, 10 police officers have been arrested in connection with a fatal shooting of a civilian in London estate Nakuru. The incident, which followed a confrontation between officers and residents, has sparked public outrage and prompted an investigation by the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. Eyewitnesses say the chaos began after police attempted to arrest 3 young men.
Wamefanya vibaya sana, wametuzoea. Mmoja wavunje mguu, huu sasa wamepiga risasi ya mdomo.
Nina machungu kwa maana huyo mzazi ameuliwa, watoto wamebaki wakiwa yatima. Haki iko wapi kwa hii Kenya? Tunaelekea wapi? Sisi tunasikia uchungu kama
Nakuru County Police Commander Michael Mwaura confirmed that the officers involved have been placed in custody pending investigations.
Officers who have been involved in the incident have been subjected to investigations. The firearms have been confiscated and subjected to ballistic, and the investigation is going to be handed over to IPOA.
Kuna officers walikuwa wanafanya patrol within the CBK, within the Tete Center, na wakashika kijana mmoja ambaye alikuwa ana pedo bangi. Baada ya kushika hiyo kijana, aliwaelezea hii bangi anapewa na dira, ambaye dira anaishi estate moja inaitwa Radan, pande ya Nakuru West. Wakati hao officers walienda huko, waliweza kukutana na dira na hapo fujo ikatokea.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank. On your side.
Taking a look at what's happening with traffic this morning, it's coming in heavy and it's busy as you then are on the Thika Superhighway. It's also quite something coming off Waiyaki Way. There is a little bit of traffic on, it's not a little bit, it's quite some on the Southern Bypass as you then come in from Langata Road. So that's going to be doing the thing for a while. Langata Road is inching slowly then towards Hulu Gardens, and that is slow. Right Odinga Way also with some traffic inbound towards Valley Road. The city is busy. And coming off Mombasa Road all the way from the Next Gen interchange, there's traffic there and on Jogo Road as well. Coming in all the way from the Rai Junction through towards Embakasi North Airport Road, traffic is bumper to bumper. It's a busy morning and it's likely to continue as so. We'll keep talking and keep pushing. Spice FM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, empowering you to achieve your dreams and secure your future with our financial solutions across Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius. I&M Bank, on your side.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
7 minutes after 8 o'clock, this is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Our audience on KTN is still here with us, and our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. We continue this morning. And the fathers, we are celebrating the fathers. I'm insistent, it's deliberate. We must.
Yes.
Father's Day is coming up. Don't worry.
I didn't even know.
I thought you were going to say you didn't know you were a father. But it's okay.
Come about a father I've been for many years.
Let's tell you about special things that are happening for fathers this Father's Day.
And I think I just want us to be honest, yeah?
Okay.
How many of you know fathers who have these jackets that they've had since 1990? You know, that one jacket that is a statement in the house, you know? It is a story in every household. But Woolworths is here to tell you that it is important for us to just upgrade our fathers. And how do we do that? This Father's Day, Woolworths is giving you 30% off men's sleepover, nightwear, jackets, and coats. And yes, that means cozy, classy, and cool options he'll absolutely love. Now, whether it's a chilly day indoors or a dinner out, Woolworths has the perfect gift waiting for your father. Woolworths says that it has the perfect gift waiting. Slide into the store near you, grab the good stuff, and make this Father's Day unforgettable. Offer ends on the 16th of June. 16th of June, all the fathers change that jacket for your dad and just make them smile. Terms and conditions apply, and Woolworths is the difference.
Fantastic. So now you know where to go. You know what to do. History, a tie or a pair of socks.
Belt.
No. There's something to do. And Woolies is saying, do it here and do it with us, isn't it? So you heard his voice, and he's here. His name is Barak Muluka, a communication strategist, and joining us in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning, where conversations definitely do continue. Barak, good morning.
Morning.
Bonjour.
Comment ça va?
Ça va bien, merci.
Moi, je suis en forme. Et vous?
Ouais, en forme bien. Ok.
Ouais. No habla français.
No habla français. Mix them, gather them. No problem.
Mambo.
Good to see you, Barak.
Good to see you too, and good to see Aseto here and my good friend Okari. It's been a while.
It's been a minute, I know.
Yes.
I love the new look.
Yes, I get older. I've got to look like an elder. Older people should be elders.
Okay.
Waswahili Waislamu wanaita sunna.
Bas.
Yes.
What did you say?
Sunna. Yes. Sunna. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like the Prophet, peace be upon him, did.
Yeah. Ishara ya kifahari tu.
Kabisa.
Na ya hekima.
Okay. Hekima to you too.
No habla Kiswahili.
No habla Kiswahili. Okay. Barak, so we're having a number of conversations, and I've just been saying that, the last couple of days, we try really hard to be positive. We try really hard to look for the good and to be optimistic. But unfortunately, we keep being served up this buffet of negativity and terrible things actually happening. Sadly, but necessarily, it forms the basis for conversations that we will be having this morning. And we're going to come off an hour where we just had conversations. We're asking questions for certain gaps to be filled about what really is happening which concerns the rule of law. And when we get into this now, looking at the political skew that a lot of these issues take, we'll come to that in a short while. But Dennis is in a country which I know you've been to many times, and that you draw a lot of, I don't know if it's inspiration from, but he'll tell you what that is.
Yeah.
And then we'd like to hear what your interpretation of the problem from this country is.
It is a country that calls itself the Pearl of Africa, whose Minister of Education is the wife to the president. The president who's been in power for over 34 years, almost 40. You know that country?
Well, no prize for that because it is across here.
Yes.
You know Bujagali.
Oh, Bujagali. Hapo Kokona.
Yeah. There is a President Yoweri Museveni. And there is Janet Museveni, and there is Muhoozi Kainerugaba.
Yeah.
And they are doing just well.
Okay.
Yes, please.
And our proverb comes from that land. The teeth are smiling, but is the heart?
You know, Okot Pabitek wrote a book some years back, which I was privileged to edit and publish. It's titled White Teeth. And he says, white teeth make us laugh in this world. It's not the softness of our innards, of our insides that makes us laugh. It's the whiteness of our teeth. That there are so many things to be unhappy about. But because we have white teeth, sometimes even when we just show them, we look like we are laughing, even when we are crying. So Ndu should not be very troubled about when we seem to be persistently pessimistic. If the house is on fire, we cannot pretend that everything is fine. We must address that fire, otherwise it will engulf the whole edifice in the proper order of time. So, white teeth make us laugh in this world.
Indeed. I love it. I guess that's what you do. It's why you do what you do, Barak. It's clear. Look, conversations are necessary for us to have. We can't be like the proverbial ostrich that buries its head in the sand when we see things happening. And what conversation does is that it brings things to the fore, and that one of two things happen, I say, is that you keep those things present by continuing the conversation, or that you move somebody in their capacity in one way or another to do something about these issues. The country plunged into yet another state of despair when a young man was killed. According to police reports themselves, that he died while at the Central Police Station. He didn't die of natural causes, neither did he kill himself. It was clear what happened. But somehow, we seem to then be able to use that to colour the political picture in the country. And indeed, we talk about the fact that it's necessary for us to talk about these things because they are actually happening. If the home is on fire, we need to figure out, are you going to run away from it, or are you going to look for water to douse out the flames?
Yes, it's 1,001 days today since President William Ruto took the oath of office. I was talking to my followers on social media, telling them that we are going to be talking about 1,001 days. Alf Lela, Ulela, the famous Arabian Nights entertainment vis-a-vis Alf Lela, Ulela. And it's been one season, as I have called it, a season of anomy, a season in which the state is in social disorder. There is very little to be cheerful about. I think if you ask the people who are within the establishment, they will tell you about microeconomic indicators. They will talk about growth, they will talk about inflation, they will talk about per capita income, and they will by and large attempt to show you how everything has been on the positive trend. We are reminded of George Orwell, where he says in Animal Farm that it was statistics upon statistics. It was as if the farm had become very prosperous without the animals themselves experiencing any of that prosperity. Because eventually we have got to look at the social indicators. We have got to look at things like liberty, as the Americans would say. We have got to look at life, and we have got to look at pursuit of happiness. Are we able to be happy in our circumstances? And it has been 1,001 days when we have steadily been sinking into the abyss. We see elements of Stalinism in the state. That even as we come here every day and we speak and we do whatever it is we are doing, we are not so sure what the state is going to do to us next. But we cannot be...
What does that mean, Barak? You just said we're going towards Stalinism, and of course, you know, for those who have not studied these ideologies, open that up a little bit for us. Number one. Number two, you say we don't know what the state is going to do to us next.
Yeah, we are talking about a state that is steadily moving from authoritarianism to totalitarianism. A state that is moving towards godifying the head of state, that we are seeing a president around whom there is a cult. And even James Orengo was talking some months back about praise and worship. Never mind that he has eventually been cornered, and he is now ensconced in that space of praise and worship, that there is a rising personality cult around the head of state whose praises must be sung. You have seen an elected member of parliament leading a group of yahoos, hoodlums, who beat up an MCA in Kitui, and who has told us that there's going to be a freedom of expression that is guaranteed, but we cannot guarantee you freedom after expression. In which case, therefore, we are being encouraged to live in a permanent state of fear. That is what the state wants. That is Stalinism. That you are talking about a state-driven terror, basically to infuse the sentiment of fear in people so that they keep quiet, they are subdued. As Samia Suluhu would say, tuthibitiwe. Wanajaribu kututhibiti kwa kutuweka hofu ili tunyamaze, tusizungumze maovu yanapotendeka. Tukizungumza tuwe ni watu wa kusifu. That we only say that this is good, how wise. You know, once again, to go back to George Orwell, Animal Farm, that even when we drink water, we should say, oh, how sweet this water tastes, thanks to the wise leadership of President William Ruto. That is Stalinism. That is creating of a cult. That is discouraging people from embracing the truth. That is discouraging people from embracing the spirit of liberty, the spirit of pursuit of happiness, as I said, as the Americans would say. And Stalinism will always have certain elements around it where you have characters, and I'm happy that Aseto, you started by taking us to Uganda. If we go back to Uganda, we will remember characters like Mali ya Mungu, characters like Bob Assols. President Yoweri Museveni across the border will know about Bob Assols. He will know about General Mali ya Mungu. President Samia Suluhu might just have an idea about who Bob Assols was. I doubt very much that she would know in any significant depth. President William Ruto would probably draw a complete blank, but they are all festooned with the latter-day Mali ya Mungus, latter-day Bob Assols, who are doing the dirty work for them.
But Barak, must it get here? Must it be this bad? Because it is a leadership and a president that fashioned itself on the respect of the rule of law. We will change things. We will not see people disappear. And one would ask the question, why aren't we seeing fidelity to the constitution, the rule of law? Why aren't we seeing fidelity and the respect of human rights in a country such as Kenya? Should it be this bad?
It is the philosophy of government in the individual in power. Unfortunately, we are seeing even in the United States of America that the person who occupies the highest office in the land is very critical for the direction that the country takes. That person will make or destroy the country, the nation. The philosophy in that person, I think the philosophy in government in Kenya today is a philosophy of creating an oligarchy, a newly arrived oligarchy. That an oligarchy, of course, as we know, is a government by super rich individuals. And President William Ruto would appear to be focused singularly on creating an oligarchy, converting himself into an oligarchy. And as Orwell again would say in a different publication, 1984, it is about oligarchical collectivism. What do I mean by oligarchical collectivism? That you look at certain social groups and you try to collectivize them into that space of a newly arrived wealthy class in power. And you are seeing, therefore, in our context, that we are encouraging ourselves to develop into competing ethnically organized streams. There's now a new one that is calling itself the stream of cousins. Okay? Versus the stream of Nilots. And we cannot afford to take the country into that kind of polarity.
It's there, Barak.
It is being nurtured.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It is in its puppy stage. If ethnicity eventually develops into some kind of dogmatism, what we are witnessing now is what I could call puppyism. It will eventually mature into dogmatism. And when it gets to that point, God have mercy upon all of us. And therefore, we must resist it. A bad thing is bad, Aseto, Okari. It doesn't matter whether it is in the hands of President William Ruto, or it is in the hands of Raila Odinga, or it is in the hands of Rigathi Gachagua. We cannot embrace certain things and say that this is where we want to go. For example, I think it is patently wrong to collectivize and demonize a whole community of people because of the sins of omission and commission on the part of a few individuals. If Mr. Odinga and Dr. Ruto will come together and start talking about some kind of Nilotic alliance that they want to be on a common ticket in 2027, it would be equally wrong to attempt to mobilize people of the so-called Bantu-speaking nations. I belong to the Bantu-speaking community of this country, and I can confess that there are some of them with whom we completely lack mutual intelligibility, linguistically speaking. Even culturally, we are very far. Emmanuel, where I come from, we are closer to the Luo in Yala, culturally speaking, than we are to the Meru, for example, Mount Kenya. And I think that has got everything to do with their proximity. And now, what you'd call centuries of our people, diverse peoples living together, we are also closer to the Nandi people in certain respects, again, out of that propinquity, as historians would call it, being within that neighborhood and having some levels of cultural tolerance and integration. So when you come up and you start telling me that I should distance myself from the Luo, from the Nandi, because you and I are cousins, that is wrong. But where is the original sin? The original sin resides in State House with President William Ruto, who is patently an ethnic supremacist. So that's where...
I need you to elucidate a little bit more. When you talk about the president being an ethnic supremacist, what would then have happened that would lead you to that conclusion?
Ethnic supremacy is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. And the end is what we have described here before and elsewhere as Prebendalism. Prebendalism is that practice. First, it starts as a philosophy and then it moves into practice. It is that philosophy and practice that is founded around the belief that when you occupy office as a position of power, one of your foremost benefits is the opportunity to externalize public resources for personal gain. That this thing which we call corruption is in fact in the eyes of its votaries and those who practice it. It's in their eyes one of the benefits of being in power. So you can demonize it as much as you would like, but they are saying that you are demonizing that which is rightly theirs. Extra legal, sometimes completely unlawful access to public resources for personal private gain. And what is the best way to externalize public resources from public coffers for personal gain? Is to have reliable homeboys and homegirls in the key places.
To do what, though?
To externalize. I'm using this expression, externalize, very delicately. I could deconstruct it completely so that at the end of the day it will morph into to steal, to be a thief. But we don't want to look at the people in office in the colors of thieves. So let us look at them as our externalizers. So they are externalizing public resources for their own use. And you need homeboys and homegirls who are compliant, not just any homeboy, not just any homegirl. And that is where negative ethnicity, as Koigi or Mwere calls it, becomes not an end in itself. It is a vehicle that is going to deliver these things.
And I want you to tie this for me, because and ways in which this can be exemplified. I think we have that. If we take the collective government, I refuse to call it broad-based, the collective government that we see now, would you essentially say that Raila Odinga then has become, I forget the term that you used, essentially part of the quiet?
It's part of the...
To fan the flames of this thing. To forget essentially what they have stood for before. And I'm going to delicately bring this in. We bring the case in of yesterday, where the police came forward and then, to a certain extent, admitted that there was death of this young person, of this Albert Odang. I'm going to call his name Albert Odang, who died in the police station. It was interesting, and I know, follow me here, but the calls then were that if Raila Odinga and his sentinels, right, were really for the people, and this was somebody who died from their area, that they would have had a louder voice had it really been a collective government. This is the conversation. It's a real one that's happening today, and it continues to split people alongst these tribal lines. That here we are, and we're seeing the tragic murder of a young man. And folks are saying, if we actually had leaders coming from our area, we would hear that they would be for support, number one, and that there would be a huge calling out of the government of the day because of this thing.
Raila Odinga is now caught up squarely in a cage. It's the cage of silence. He's now a resident in the trap of silence, where he has got to keep quiet, and he has got to encourage those around him to issue decibels, sound bites and sentiments that are pro the state. To tell people like Edwin Sifuna, usikue kali sana, because the center has moved. We are no longer where we were. Sifuna, usikue kali sana. Nyamaza. For his brother, his sibling, elder brother, and I want to believe one of the co-advisors, to tell James Orengo, keep quiet. We are now in government. We are eating. To say himself, Mr. Odinga, that this is the government that we have, and we shall not wait for another government. To have people like John Buddy screaming themselves hoarse, almost bursting arteries and veins, addressing Sifuna and telling him, what do you want? To have people like Peter Kaluma, people like Junaid Mohammed, looking like they have undergone brain surgery and they have had brain transplants that has put into their heads the brain of Oscar Sudi, or a clone of the brain of Oscar Sudi, or they look like they have been cloned from Oscar Sudi and Cherargei and Farouk Kibet and other Bob Assels and Mali Amungus. Now Bob Assels in Kenya is an educated individual who has gone to exclusive academies, who has gone to good schools, who has gone to good universities, and who is doing a Mali Amungu Rasputin job for the state. So if Mr. Odinga, truly speaking, was still believing in what he believed in the past, I think they are right. The sentiment from that fraternity would be different. But Mr. Odinga, and this is why I encourage us to interact widely and deeply with knowledge. When you look at the dystopia that Orwell, and I think today Orwell is the point of reference, paints in the narrative titled 1984. You have this Winston Smith, who is a dissent, who operates contrary to the whims of the totalitarian state. But when the state catches up with him and takes him through the transformation processes, at the end of it, we have him shedding what Orwell calls a gin-scented tear, G-I-N, gin-scented tear. His tear smells
of gin.
He sheds a gin-scented tear, and he wonders why he wasted so many years on the wrong side of the divide. And the book concludes with the words, he loved Big Brother. Mr. Odinga loves Big Brother, and he's shepherding what have been his troops to get into the space where they love Big Brother. And Big Brother, William Ruto, is just a metaphor of Big Brother in the Kenyan context, because Big Brother is the system and the entity that has exercised draconian rule over the Kenyan people, the entity that has rode roughshod through us. So I think we need to get to the point where we surrender Mr. Odinga to the fraternity in which he is, to understand him as a newborn Odinga, a born-again Raila Odinga. You know, to be born again, you can be born again on either side of salvation. You can be born again into the kingdom of Lucifer, or you can be born again into the kingdom of Jesus Christ. He's a renegade, someone who reneges, who runs away from what he previously believed in, a retrograde that degenerates steadily. And that entity called ODM is in the process of retrogression, where it even contemplates, as I have seen in the daily press today, that they're talking of a Trump card, talk of Ruto-Raila ticket that sparks debate. And therefore, when things like abductions, murder, mayhem do overrun us, he will be silent. And after a few days, he will speak of other things and say, this is the government that we have. We will not wait for another government. And indeed, it is the government that they have, because he is in that space without portfolio, without responsibility. His older brother, who is an octogenarian, is a youth leader in that government. His nephew, who is in the 40s, gravitating towards the 50s, and whose credentials remain unknown. At least they are not known to me. I didn't see him in the academies where I was educated. I didn't see him in my classes, and I don't know of which classes he attended. He is an advisor to the president, to His Excellency, the president. And there are others within that familial environment who are part of the present dispensation, and they're saying we are eating. An eating mouth cannot be a speaking mouth.
But it can take a break. So, Barak, I mean, it's clear some things. Let's take a break at this point. We're going to come back and continue, because I know Dennis is bursting with a question here for us to interrogate this just a little bit more. And it's around these questions that we're asking, and we're looking at the state of the nation. We're looking at the direction in which politics is going to go, and the different sentiments that are being put out there from many a Kenyan along the lines of what you speak of this morning. We'll come back and we'll continue with this. It's 20 minutes to 9 o'clock. Time does fly when you're having fun. We'll keep going, and we'll talk right after this. Don't go away.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This June on Next Superstar, the pressure is on. It's vocal battles, show-stopping performances, and edge-of-your-seat showdowns. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 60 days to watch the battle unfold on Rainbow TV+. The search for Africa's next hitmaker just got hotter. Renew your subscription today and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months free. Who will judges Motive, Size 8, and King Kaka choose to move on to the next round? On the move, stream Next Superstar live on StarTimes On. Anytime, anywhere. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life. This June on Next Superstar, the pressure is on. The search for Africa's next hitmaker just got fiercer. Don't miss a moment. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded free to the next high bouquet for 60 days. It's vocal battles, show-stopping performances, and edge-of-your-seat showdowns. Who will judges Motive, Size 8, and King Kaka choose to move on to the next round? You can also buy a DTT StarTimes decoder at our business halls countrywide. Dial *858# for self-service or call our customer care on 0730-710077. Offer starts June 13th to August 16th, 2025. Terms and conditions apply. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank. On your side.
Looking at traffic now this morning, and where are we? Just a little bit of that as you're still coming off of the Thika Superhighway, still heavy right around Survey. Also then on the Eastern Bypass, there's traffic then heading towards North Airport Road, Embakasi, and then as you get towards Southfield, so that continues. Mombasa Road will take you through towards Next Gen at that area with no problem, and then you get towards the junction at Uhuru Highway with some traffic then coming in towards Uhuru Highway, and then Raila Odinga Way with some traffic touching on Gong Road. You're coming in from Kiambu Road with quite some traffic. There's a lot of that actually, and it's bumper to bumper coming out of Westerns, lower Kabete through towards Spring Valley. It's also pretty busy as well. We're going to keep checking on things going through the morning, and then we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, empowering you to achieve your dreams and secure your future with our financial solutions across Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius. I&M Bank, on your
Mature,
side.
intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 17 minutes to 9 o'clock, we continue our conversation this morning with Barak Muluka in the Situation Room. Okari?
You know, someone said you can't eat and speak at the same time. And so, Barak, my question is, you used a very interesting word that we seem to be moving from authoritarian to totalitarian states. And I was very quick to just check this political system in which the state essentially holds total authority over society and seeks to control all aspects of life, public and private, wherever possible. And I was looking at the countries under this title, and 3 examples in history. Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler, Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin that you mentioned, and North Korea under Kim Jong-un. Now, when I looked at the key characteristics of these 3 countries in your example, is one, you have the issue of centralized power, where a single party or a single leader holds absolute power, e.g. a dictator, okay? Then you have no political freedom, censorship and propaganda, surveillance, control over economy and society, use of fear and force. My question then is, because all these characteristics, we never really used to have them, or maybe we did at some point in time, but when I was looking at all these things, I'm just seeing Kenya. My question is, were we all along going to end up here, or is this situation circumstantial? We've had guests here we've interviewed, and we keep asking, when you people are working, for example, with President Ruto in this case, didn't you see or didn't you know that this was a character in him before election, or you discover this much later now that he's president? So were we all along going to end up here anyway, or is this circumstantial? Something triggered something that is now leading us to be in this space. It's only Tuesday, and our heads are hurting because of the headlines you keep saying and the news reports that are coming from everywhere in the country.
Yes, the headlines are not the problem. The headlines are only mirror images of the problem. The problem is being incubated in some space where it is growing steadily, and they are the owners of that problem. Was it always going to be like this? Lord Acton, it was, who said famously that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. That is why, and that is coming to the question you are asking, Dennis, that is why when the president is being sworn in, he or she holds that which they consider to be most sacred in the hand and vows that they are going to protect the Constitution, that they are going to serve according to the law, and nitaitetea katiba. What do they mean when they say, I will protect the Constitution? They don't mean that they are going to protect that Constitution against you or from me or from some invaders from Mars. They're actually vowing that they are going to protect the Constitution from themselves and from the allures of power, because power corrupts.
Naturally.
Naturally, when you get there, you have got to exercise self-censorship all the time. Remind yourselves when your appetites start driving you towards amassing more power, exercising more power than you are allowed, or abusing the power that you have, because that person has authority to do certain things. And when they start exercising that authority in an extra-legal manner, drawing a distinction between illegal and extra-legal, because extra-legal means that it's got trappings of legality, of legalisms. So you start exercising that authority in an extra-legal manner, you start becoming authoritarian. And after a while, you institutionalize misuse now of authority. you become an institution yourself, even as an individual, and you become bigger than that office that you occupy. The presidency, in fact, now comes below you. You no longer occupy the presidency because the presidency is circumscribed with certain limitations, certain checks and balances. But now you sit on top of that institution, and people come and worship you. Even those who have been in opposition against you, like Mr. Odinga, they begin singing your praises. They take you to Luo Nyanza and tell people there how you are God's gift to the country, and you actually yourself start believing that you are God's gift. So was it always going to be like this? Our history from 1963 to where we are is replete with attempts of people to godify themselves, and resistance against that idolization, self-idolization, and being idolized by sycophants around you, who then spread the spirit of fear into the community. And they use various instruments. They will use fear, they will use bribery, they will use intimidation, and you can see that the bribery has gone deep into the innermost recesses of what are supposed to be our sacrosanct institutions, that church leaders will sit at the dais there and they will be nodding in affirmation as vitriol is spewed from the pulpit, and they will even clap. That's why I'm talking about a season of anomie, that we have gotten to a point where the values that should be bringing us together are collapsing. So has it always been like this? Yes, but it has always met resistance. And here we need to educate the Gen Zs a little bit, who have imagined that the struggle has commenced with them. When they see this gray beard, they should know that this struggle has been there for very many years, and we are witnesses now to history. It's just that it is now their turn as the youthful population to occupy certain spaces in these competed for spaces and help to sustain the struggle to keep the country on the sober path.
Barak.
And so, as I conclude with a footnote, Aseto, and so there are those constitutional changes, 1965 to 1969, the pejoration within that period, and after that there is the autocracy that sets in the post-Kenyatta years, the transformation of the country from a de facto one-state dictatorship to a de jure, a by-law one-state dictatorship, the reversal of that in 1991, and the efforts between 1992 and 2010 to bring a new constitution. And now the struggle the forces of liberation to protect the constitution, and the forces of pejoration to destroy the constitution, to kill devolution, to kill democracy.
Barak, you talked about fidelity to the constitution. We talked about the rule of law. And there is the fact that it is the people who have the absolute power, because it is even the people who give the constitution power to operate. Yet here we have a leadership that is going against all that, including the respect of human rights. And one thing that is being said right now, ukienda kupiga kura, beba ID, lakini ubebe pia akili. As we head to, as we're having this discourse, what will it take for Kenyans to finally go vote using their heads, and how do we reclaim the power that we have been given. We've given ourselves through the Constitution.
The thing it takes is already there.
Mm-hmm.
The Beba Akili is already there. The preponderant population of voters, if the state does not succeed in disenfranchising them, as it is likely to attempt to do, is going to be the population that you are seeing online. The millennials, the Gen Zs, the later generation X's, and a few enlightened baby boomers. Like myself, I flatter myself with thinking that I'm an enlightened baby boomer. They're the majority. They're already having their conversations, and the resistance is in fact in the cyberspace, in the digital space. When you do not see them, and the state should not delude itself with the comfort of thinking that it's not seeing the Generation Z in the streets. They are elsewhere. This is the digital age. President Ruto has told us that we are Africa's Silicon Savannah. That if you go up this road a few kilometers away, you will find the Konza Technopolis.
Yes.
Up the road, and young people are in conversations. In fact, if anything, when you talk about things called revolutions, we are already in the middle of a revolution, and it is a digital revolution. The owners talk about it as the fourth industrial revolution, 4IR, and it is changing the world. When the new generations want to stop the autocrats, they will not stop them in the streets. They will stop them in the cyberspace. As you talk about the digital economy, and doesn't anybody in State House understand this whole thing they are talking about? There's a whole ministry under William Kabogo. Previously, there was Eliud Owalo, whom I unsuccessfully attempted to advise. When they talk about this digital economy and they brag about putting 10,000 government services online, are they aware that the Gen Zs can bring that house of cards down by just touching one button and put them in a state of permanent paralysis? The revolution does not have to be bloody. It does not have to
have casualties.
The form that because that is primitive. It comes quite close to what they are doing, going all the way to Homa Bay to grab a young man and bring him 400 kilometers away, as if there are no police stations between Homa Bay and Nairobi. They could even have taken him to a police station in Kisumu, or a police station in Awasi, or a police station in Nakuru, if there was even fear of reprisals from the local environment. So Dennis, in short, what it will take, it is taking. But there's a conclusive footnote there. Democracy is not about the casting of the ballot. Democracy is a way of life. Do we operate in democratic space where we can breathe, we have access to opportunities, where there is transparency, there's accountability, where the state is not, the executive is not in permanent effort to kill independent institutions, wrestling with the Auditor General, wrestling with the Controller of Budget, wrestling with the media, wrestling with free voices in society, striving to silence them, wrestling with the youth, murdering them.
Is that how power is taken? Because these things that we speak about and we're looking at now, they're deconstructing a lot of these voices that we see, which would otherwise be independent, Barak. Is that how power is taken? Whether we look at the examples that you've given of Stalinism and authoritarianism, totalitarianism, all of these things that we see. Is that how power is taken? Deconstructing what would be within a democratic space free independent voices. When you deconstruct them, they are powerless, and whatever power is left on the ground you take. Is that how we get to those isms?
That is how power attempts to be grabbed, and the free voices will usually only appear to be powerless for a time, a short while, because the entire grain of history, from Stone Age to artificial intelligence, demonstrates very clearly that totalitarians will last for a short while. In the end, they will fall. It doesn't matter whether you are Mussolini, you are Hitler, you are the Ayatollah, you are Shah Reza Mohammed Pahlavi, you are Jean-Claude Duvalier, you are Ferdinand Marcos, you are Mobutu Sese Seko, you are Masias Nguema, you are Jean Bidel Bokassa. It doesn't matter who you are as a totalitarian, whether you are Nicholas II, whether you are Louis XVI, you will collapse, you will fall. And the bigger tragedy for you is that your subsequent generations then become pariahs. They become nomads wandering across the ends, the four corners of the world as beggars.
Should be a masterclass. But we want to thank you for being here this morning. It's clear a number of things. And that's why we started out in the beginning of this, Barak, by saying we need to keep talking about these things. Thank you so much for being here this morning. The state of where we are is one that needs to be recognized, acknowledged, and continued in discourse. Dr. Barak Muluka, communication strategist, has been here with us this morning. It's 9:01. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm La Obaga. The National Assembly is tackling the 2025-2026 budget estimates, a critical plan to fund government operations. Today marks the final day of a general debate on the Budget and Appropriations Committee report, with votes on allocations like 387.18 billion for the Teachers Service Commission and 213.32 billion Kenya shillings for the Ministry of Defence. A procedural motion to extend the sitting ensures every vote from the Executive Office of the President, 5.37 billion shillings to the National Police Service, 127.09 billion is finalised. These decisions will directly affect education, security, health and infrastructure across Kenya. Meanwhile, with the 2025 budget estimates expected to be read on Thursday this week, the chairperson of Kiboroa Squatters Alliance in Trans Nzoia County, Aina Masinde, has urged the Budget Committee in Parliament to ensure that about 1.6 billion shillings is allocated for housing squatters. Masinde said more than 50,000 squatters in the county are going through a lot of hardship, and that she does not want the situation witnessed in the last financial year to be repeated.
We are demanding 1.6 billion to resettle Masquata ya Trans Nzoia. Shamba ni 300,000 acres. Masquata ni over 50,000, but wale tumemanage kuketa ni 21,279. Wale original wako vetted na colonial protectorate document ambao tumeshinda katika 12th parliament 2014. Of the date wajakuwa settled, ni story za mbele na nyuma, pesa na nini. Kwa hiyo tunataka watenge hizo budget kutoka kwa auditor general. Last budget ilitengwa 1.6, hatujakuwa settled, pesa hizo haikutumika, haiko, so tunaomba mwaka huu itengwe.
And INEA said land ownership disputes have contributed to increasing poverty, especially the delay in court decisions.
Kuna misoso ya ardhi ambayo ni ugonjwa mkubwa upande wa Coast Central, upande wa Rift Valley na pia particularly Trans Nzoia. Hiyo ndio kitonda suku imeweka watu kwa umaskini mkubwa. Cases mingi zimeingia kotini, zimefanya gharama imekuwa ngumu kwa maisha ya watu kuendelea kwa sababu maamuzi hayatolewi na resettlement hazifanyi kwa njia inayofaa. Mipango ya kibarua squatters lands tulipomaliza na bunge iko mahakamani. Tunaomba kamati ya bunge itenge fedha hizo kwa ajili ya surveyor na pia title deeds. Sisi yetu ni kuwa compensated kwa mambo ya mashamba ya ardhi, historical injustice, ili tuwezeshe kazi yetu kuendelea.
The Kenyan Senate is meeting for its 13th Parliament 4th session. They'll discuss important issues including how to share national revenue among counties. The formula they are debating will decide how much money each county gets for their operations. They'll also talk about new laws like the Business Laws Amendment Bill and the Labour, Migration and Management Bill. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, on your side.
All right, taking a look at what's happening with traffic this morning. It's starting to build and it's coming in towards the Thika Superhighway. It's busy as you come then on to the Thika Superhighway. There's a little bit of traffic also starting to build as you come through towards Lower Kebete out towards Spring Valley. A little bit of traffic also on Waiaki Way. Raila Odinga Way with some traffic touching on Gong Road, and Huru Highway is also busy. In and outbound traffic on Landis and coming in from Jogo Road, and North Airport Road coming in from Embakasi also busy. It still continues this morning. We'll talk and keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, empowering you to achieve your dreams and secure your future with our financial solutions across Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius. I&M Bank, on your side.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
At 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, conversations continue this morning, and Father's Day is coming up, is it not?
And it is coming in real quick, but remember, one of the toughest thing to do in this life is knowing what to get your dad. It's always a difficult thing. But this year, Woolworths is saying that you've got the cheat code. Let's make this Father's Day iconic. Woolworths is giving you 30% off men's, off men's sleepwear, knitwear, jackets and coats until 16th of June. So hurry up. Time is not on your side. So whether your dad is the stay cozy type of dad, step out looking sharp and kind, you'll find the perfect gift for him. Let's just make sure that this Father's Day extra special by making sure that you get your dad the perfect gift. Visit the nearest Woolworths store and get him something he'll low-key love and high-key brag about. Making fathers brag out here. You know, Mzee Aseto, seeing you. Terms and conditions apply. Woolworths says it is the difference. The difference, making sure that your dad low-key, cozy, but happy.
Indeed.
And there's a fun fact. On Father's Day, the traditional flower on Father's Day is a rose.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And red roses
just to be
are for living fathers, and white roses are for fathers who have departed.
Oh, wow.
So now we know. So for the ones who have departed, white roses. For the ones living, red roses. For those who are wondering, what else can you accompany? That's special gift, the jacket, the tie, and all that. You can also buy flowers. Have you ever received flowers?
Me? Yeah. Yes. My dad used to work in a flower farm, so he used to bring flowers home a lot. Yeah.
So you know about flowers?
He low-key loves. My dad loves flowers. Yes. Yeah.
Do you?
I do.
So
I buy flowers. I buy flowers every 2 weeks for my house. Yeah.
Well, look at that. Well, okay.
Interesting.
Do you?
No, I'm not. To be honest, I didn't grow around them anyway. Growing up is when I discovered that, loving flowers and buying flowers once in a while is romantic.
It's romantic.
So, yeah, that's my only interaction with flowers.
Okay. Well, here we are, and getting into a budget 2025-2026 conversation. The budget is going to be read tomorrow, rather on Thursday. And the questions around, Mwananchi and how they then will access, how they will then have access to certain things as we go along. The year starts to build, and the budget has been in the making, coming in from September 2024 and coming into 2025, when we are saying, okay, we're getting into a new fiscal year, we get into the next 12 months, and here we are with an opportunity to then get to how the spend of the country will be. Now, as this happens, the questions are, we talked about it being a Mwananchi, exclusive budget. We talk about it then being able to help Mwananchi here and there. But the questions then remain that, is it going to be just that? Our guest will join us in a short while, and then we'll be able to have that conversation around this with him, and then what it will mean for that. But what do you think is in the minds of people when, the numbers are being crunched and we're going from point A to point B? What actually happens when we're looking at those numbers? Who then takes these things into consideration? Does it, what you do on your table every night when you're eating with your children, when you're taking them to school, what does it do to your mind when you think about the numbers and it comes out in public that this is what the country is actually going to go towards?
When you just think about it, and even when you speak to individuals out there, one thing is the budget that is there is being touted to be Mwananchi friendly, but there are other hidden costs that have been intelligently hidden so that you just don't see it. You know what I mean? So here we are talking about stuff like inputs in farm inputs will automatically see cost of food go up. That would lead to inflation and just making life of Kenyans difficult. But even when you think about that, now we're talking about individuals from NHIF that the government does not have 9 billion shillings for individuals who are let go. Talk about healthcare as well. There is not enough budget that goes into that. So one asks the budget that is coming in, how Mwananchi friendly is it if it is not addressing the priorities Mwananchi has?
And you know, when you talk about civic education, I was just trying to open, as you're talking, Rosenjerry's webpage that was highlighting key things that she felt were very, very important. There's some key things there. I'm just opening it right here because you're looking at the budget and then you're thinking, so we've had perspectives from the business community. There's what concerns the business community. There's what concerns the manufacturing sector. There's what is concerning to education, for example, security. So you're hearing all these voices. But then there is the Wanjiko's voice. There is the Mwananchi wa Kawaida's voice and what affects them. And it's just the common things, the day-to-day. You wake up in the morning, you have to use transport to go to work, you have to eat, you have to pay rent, you have to pay electricity, you have to pay school fees. So you're looking at the budget, and you know someone was arguing and saying, hey, why do we overcomplicate things? You're looking at assuming you have your house budget, now expand it to like a national budget. There are things that are essential, there are things that are priorities. But because of how it's drawn and the complexities around understanding all the nitty-gritties and reading the fine print and the devil is in the detail, what is missing and that, it then makes it hard for the Mwananchi wa Kawaida, in quotes, to digest what is in it. And looking at, you know, the budget, and listening to, because I've had a chance to, interestingly, there are so many forums in this country where you have Bunge la Wananchi, you've got these forums where people out there in town, you'll find people having very intellectual conversations. They're having very sober conversations around what's happening in the country. Minus the politics, you're just looking at cost of living, and you would stand and listen. You'll go to places like Jivanji, Ambassador in town, and the other places. You'll go listen to how people are expressing themselves, and you find there are people actually who are really, really smart. They know what's going on in this country, and they have a say, and they have an idea of what's going on. So I'm just trying to open this, taking a bit of time. And also, you're looking at the cost of, the issue of taxation. And on Sunday, I was just talking to someone who was telling me, anybody who has a pay slip is really, really suffering. Because you're talking about investing and you're looking at what's coming in terms of pay, what's being deducted, and then from those deductions, the diversions to those deductions. So you're told you're deducting this and it's going to do this. Then out of that, it morphs into something else. So there are also those concerns where, as we're talking about the budget and what we are counting to the different things that concerns us, what you're deducting from us, what is it going to do? How is it working?
We say we're deducting it for affordable housing, but then again, there are talks to change it to start funding other things. So there is no clarity exactly, even when it comes to budget policy, government policy vis-a-vis the budget that is being drawn. So yeah, interesting.
And of course, look, so all of these things come into play. And then when we're talking about a Mwananchi budget, we have to bring these things into, consideration. What happens? Who is taken into consideration? And our guest is here, even at this time. It's good to have you in the room. Okay. So things are actually just frozen. Good to have you again. And also just to then be able to go over some of these issues. Simiyu, karibu sana. Bunge la Wananchi often talks to people, and we get some of these insights here and there, and then being able to find out what it is that folks think. Tell us about what you've been able to see so far. Are we looking at a budget that then takes Wananchi into consideration? But before we do that, we want to welcome you to the show with today's proverb. Dennis is in Uganda, and he'll tell you what the Ugandans are saying, and we'd like your interpretation of that.
Yeah, Ugandans are saying, the teeth are smiling, but is the heart?
The teeth are smiling, but is the heart? Okay. So, in my interpretation of that, I think it means something could be good for you, but actually, like the situation we are in right now, you could be profiting from something, but it's not morally right. It's nice when you are doing it, but morally it's not good. That's the best I can say right now. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Remember, you're never wrong.
Your opinion is never wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly. The voice on the cost of survival is what we're looking into today, Joachim. And even as we have this conversation, people are trying to get by, isn't it? People are looking for a situation whereby, whether it's you're running your business or whether it's your personal life, you're trying to actually get by. Tell us, from your point of view, as we look into this budget into the next year, what are we what are we hoping that would be the voice that would then spur on survival?
The situation, according to the normal Kenyan, the Wanjiku, I think it's going to get more tough because we understand that right now there are no, the USAID is not sponsoring things like health. So we would expect, as the ordinary Kenyans, that the government would inject some more money into that program. But according to what we are having as budget right now, they have actually reduced the money in the health sector. And you can see that there will be no funding for the critical illness fund. So people who depend on medical health, care for them to be alive, they will have to dig deep into their pockets for them to survive. And that's just one. The other thing, when we talk about education, we can see that there would money for invigilation and examinations have been reduced from the education budget. That only affects the common Mwananchi because they are going back to their pockets every time on each and everything. Fertilizer subsidy fund is not there. So at the end of the day, the Wanjiku will have it rough to just take care of their day-to-day lives. And as this is happening, you can see that their pay slips are also raided. The deductibles are so much. And the issue is not actually the money that's being deducted. The issue is, after deducting the money from the Wanjiku's pay slip, where do you take it? In other countries, people pay taxes and they see it. In terms of good roads, education is okay. In terms of healthcare is working, agriculture is booming. But we are living in a country where you give money to a government, but you are very sure that you will not get any returns. And my biggest issue with this budgeting process, like the finance bill that we are talking about, we understand that the finance bill is all about revenue-raising measures. It doesn't matter how much money we are going to raise, as it is right now, debt is going to gobble up almost half of it. So what we are saying are just symptoms of a bigger problem. And the bigger problem, if we don't get it right, even if we change everyone, We have changed almost everyone except the president. We have reshuffled, even if we reshuffle the president today and bring someone else without getting it right with the what is it that is wrong. And in my own opinion, we need to get the issue of debt right. Because it's now taking almost everything. This financial year, we are going to pay almost 1.9 trillion out of a budget of 4.3 trillion. We are remaining with almost 2.4 trillion. Then government operations will take 600 billion. Salaries will take 400 billion. Counties will take 400 billion. You see that we have a deficit of almost 900 billion, which means that we'll go back and borrow. Before we borrow that money, my suggestion would be, why don't we make public what we borrowed first? Parliament approvals, who is the lender, status of repayment, both principal and interest. Once we do that, we will know that this is the money we borrowed and this is the project we did with it. So that in future, as we look for money to cover the deficit of our budget, we know that it's actually coming to work for the sovereigns of the country. But as it stands today, people are taking money on behalf of the country, but they end up in offshore accounts. So this budget that we are saying, it's not actually for us. It's magari ndogo ndogo ambazo they are being used around by Uber. Yeah. They are going to shoot in the price.
145% increment.
So I wonder what is the reasoning. Let us now assume this government has very brilliant people for a minute. What is it that they want to achieve? I think they went and sat down and said, hey, Kenyans are buying this type of vehicle so much. When we impose tax on it, we will reckon some good money. But they have not thought about why are the Kenyans going for this particular vehicle. It's because it's affordable. When you impose taxes on it, they will look for alternatives, which means they are not going to get the revenue they are looking for. And they are only making it harder for the common Kenyan to manage their lives.
You see, Joachim, you've said that this budget is not a budget for Mwananchi. And when you speak like that, speaks to the priorities of the country, the priorities of those who are preparing this budget, and the government's priority pretty much on what is important to it. Because here we talk in terms of how much we're spending vis-a-vis what you're putting into development, and that we need to still go back and borrow more debt at 900 billion shillings, almost $1 trillion. And with that, there is the subject of odious debt that no one is explaining to us where the debt that we have and who took that debt, what that money did. No one is coming clear with that. And Kenyans are just asking a simple question. Where are our priorities?
Our priorities are very skewed. They're actually upside down. Because I want to read you the statement of the Auditor General about the odious debt. She says that the state of public debt is only included as annexure in the consolidated fund with no financial statements to show the debt position. Consequently, it's not possible for her to ascertain the amount redeemed, current values, and therefore validity of the public debt. The Auditor General has no legal accounting record of the debt, which is why we are reminding the Minister for Treasury the day he was being vetted. One of the things he said he will do is to publish the debt register. So why doesn't he do that? The issue, we have a very big problem with the integrity of our leaders. And I think he's unwilling to publish this debt register because there are no projects. Because in our constitution, you don't just borrow. You have to borrow money that is tied to a certain project. And if you do not have a project to show, you will be unwilling to even publish the debt register. And in most cases, if you publish the debt register and it paints your boss in bad light, you will not do it. That's why I think when he took office, he realized that publishing that register will
taint his boss negatively.
Yes. And I look at who welcomed the Minister for Treasury in office. Who was his first guest? It was someone from IMF and the World Bank.
Yeah.
That tells you the problem we are in today, that the problems we are in, some of them are being pushed by external forces. I tend to believe that we have an extractive system that is meant to put Kenyans where they are, in dire poverty. It's by design. Because I've been looking at where we've come from as a country and why are we in this problem? Why do we keep on getting the same problems even if when we change CEOs of our country?
Yeah.
And I looked at some history. I remember in 1888, when the British wanted to access our resources, they brought here a company called Imperial British East African Company, whose work was to manage resources. They built this railway not to serve the African people, but to allow them to get into the interior so that they can access African resources and ship them to their country.
In terms of government and its development and all of that, where do taxes come into play, even taking that into consideration?
Taxes are here to curtail your prosperity. I've told you that poverty in a country such as this, it's a multi-billion enterprise for other people. And it actually makes politicians look like the gods. So that every time when he comes to campaign, he will tell you that I will build this road. So they come up with punitive tax measures to curtail your prosperity. I told you it's an extraction system. And they have extracted everything. Now they are coming for your coins in your pocket. So they have come up with a way of extracting everything from your pocket. And that's where taxes come in. First, they get your president to sign these debts. Then it's a direct pipe for money because it's tax in advance. Once the president takes debt, it's tax in advance. The taxes we shall pay in 2036, we've already taken loan for them. And that's why we need to get this issue of debt right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because you've talked about the issue of debt and we can discuss fiscal priorities, and there's an argument that either a budget is people-centered or it's a numbers game only meant to direct its attention to external creditors. My question is, because we're looking at Wanjiko's voice now on this budget, if we go into the details, it's easy to get lost on where we are. We know we are in debt and the debt is increasing, but what, in your opinion, are the top 3 or the top 4, top 5 areas in the 2025-26 budget that you believe completely ignore the Mwananchi's voice or the Mwananchi's everyday struggle?
When they talk about moving basic commodities like bread and milk from zero-rated product to exempt, one of the experts told me that a zero-rated product means that the taxes imposed on that product can be refunded back to the manufacturer. But when you make it exempt, it means he cannot be refunded. The manufacturer cannot get the refund of the taxes, so they put it on the consumer.
Okay.
So the consumer will incur a lot more cost. So it affects you and me, people who consume these products every day. That if you take a packet of milk every morning and you've been spending 65 shillings, you'll have to add 10 shillings more. If you use 3 packets, then you will have to look for 30 shillings more to add so that you can be able to raise above the fray. Another issue I mentioned about health. Pharmaceutical products are going to increase in price. And we Kenyans depend on them. Health is a crucial part of our daily life.
Absolutely.
So if we increase the prices of pharmaceutical products, who are we affecting? We are affecting the Kenyans. Because everything that is not working, the people who are affected are the poor people.
Indeed.
Because a member of parliament has a comprehensive insurance. They rarely step there in these public hospitals. You saw the governor of Nakuru said she couldn't be operated by junior doctors, so she had to fly to the US. So these problems do not actually affect them. It affects people who are living below the poverty line.
Yeah.
And that's why we are trying to make them remember that you are put in those offices by these people that you are punishing by these taxes.
So you're saying the cost of medicine is going to go up?
Yes.
You go to your local chemist in the estate.
For someone who just uses Panadol for headache, they will not see the pinch. But someone who depends on medicine to be alive, there is someone who goes for dialysis 2 times a week. There are people who are asthmatic. They will dig deeper into their pocket. And with our health system that is not working, it will affect you because they see you on Spice and you look like you have some good money. You will be getting a lot of messages of hey, help me here. I'm stuck. I need medicine and I don't have money. So the money you have in your pocket that is meant to do your own things, you will have to give it out because you will feel empathy for these people. So it all boils down to the cost of living for the ordinary Kenyans.
So you've mentioned consumable products.
Yes.
You've also mentioned pharmaceutical products. What else do you think is completely being ignored and that will affect the Mwananchi?
I talked about fuel subsidy fund that is also missing, and the farm inputs, which will make also food products to increase. Because if a farmer incurs more cost in producing their products, then it means 1 kg of unga will go up in price. 1 bucket of waru will go up in price. Definitely everything, because every crop uses fertilizer. And when we talk about farm inputs, it means seeds and everything. So they are actually coming for our lifeline, our survival. I don't know if it's intentional, because a government is meant to create an environment where people can
thrive. Essentially.
Where you can open a business and you can actually access credit if you needed to boost your business. But then this government is doing a lot of domestic borrowing. When you go to a bank and you are given a loan at a rate of 20%, you will not afford, because they have the biggest customer in the name of the government. Where you are getting salary, it's being slashed. The things you depend on for life, they're going up in price. That's why people are bitter.
Let's take a break at this point, because we're looking then essentially at what it would mean when essentially the government takes out its calculator and puts things on a budget line and says this is the way in which we're going to run the country going into the next 1 year. What does it actually mean for the people? Joachim Simiyu is a governance advisory and policy analysis expert, Bunge la Wananchi, and we're talking budget 2025-2026 and what this means for Kenyans. 23 minutes to 10 o'clock. We'll come back and talk about this as we come back from this break. Don't go away.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is not an announcement, it's a fact.
To plant trees and protect our environment.
To drive mentorship and education.
To grow businesses with funding and training.
To share with our communities.
Since 2020, we've honored this pact.
As we mark 5 years, we renew it because all impact begins with a part. I&M Foundation, celebrating 5 years of impact, powered by I&M
This
Bank.
June on Next Superstar, the pressure is on. It's vocal battles, show-stopping performances, and edge-of-your-seat showdowns. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 60 days to watch the battle unfold on Rembo TV+. The search for Africa's next hitmaker just got hotter. Renew your subscription today and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months free. Who will judges Motive, Size 8, and King Kaka choose to move on to the next round? On the move, stream Next Superstar live on Star Times On. Anytime, anywhere. Star Times. Enjoy digital life. Great! This June, the biggest Club World Cup ever held is here. The 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded free to the next high bouquet for 60 days. A competition across the continent. 30 action-packed days of top-notch football from 32 best club teams from around the world. Recharge your subscription today to never miss a moment of a competition like never before. On the move, download Star Times On and watch every goal, every moment, anytime, anywhere. Star Times Sports, beyond passion. Star Times, enjoy digital life.
Provides the inspiration for Leipzig.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank. On your side.
Taking a look at what's happening with traffic, starting to move as we get, I think we're looking at a better situation now. Coming off of North Airport Road and less busy as we then get towards the city via way of Mombasa Road. Also starting to move along on Uhuru Highway and getting into the CBD. There's a little bit of traffic still left on the Thika Superhighway as you come towards Survey. And also then on Limuru Road, it's also just a little bit busy. Taking into a quick look at Raila Odinga Way, the crossover from Gong Road, busy as well. Keeping an eye on all of this, let's talk and keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Traffic updates brought to you by I&M Bank, empowering you to achieve your dreams and secure your future with our financial solutions across Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius. I&M Bank, on your side.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Coming in at 19 minutes to 10 o'clock and reminding you that the I&M Foundation says, you know what, 2% of all our annual profits every year, we take it and put it towards making a better future for Kenya. The I&M Foundation is vested in this. For the past 5 years, they've done this, investing a significant amount of the bank's annual profit, the highest commitment in the Kenyan banking sector, into impactful programs. So their work focuses on vital areas like education and skills development, economic empowerment, and enabling giving. But today we want to highlight their leadership in environmental conservation. The I&M Foundation is dedicated to protecting our precious natural heritage through strategic partnerships and community-driven initiatives, ensuring a sustainable future for all. They believe in impact, and are achieving it through focused action. As we renew our pact to keep impacting, learn more about the I&M Foundation's vital work and how you can potentially collaborate by visiting inmbankgroup.com/foundation to find out more. And we still continue our conversation this hour. Joachim Simiyu is a governance advisory policy analysis expert at Bungele Wananchi, and we're looking at budget 2025-2026 and asking ourselves questions around the cost of survival. Where does public participation come in all of this to say, it's too much, we can't handle it here? Public participation as a tool to essentially get the citizens' voice. What do we do?
You remember Rosenjeri was arrested. Essentially for bringing information home to the people. So if a person who is trying to educate people about this budgeting process is put behind the bars. That tells you the attitude of government towards public participation. You can see that the taxes themselves are not favorable to the people. So if you allow people to put their voices in it, they will not give it a chance for you to to propose such kind of taxes. So what you do is, and if you look at the finance bill, it has a lot of legal and economic jargon, so that the normal mwananchi can struggle to understand what is really going on. So people who are experts in finance matters, they are trying to break down the bulk of language for people to understand, so that they can also have an opinion. But then they are facing brutality from the government. And again, the person, like the chair of the finance committee, is the one running public participation forums. Like, this person wants this thing to go through. How do you trust him to carry out public participation forums? Why don't we look for neutral bodies, or give it to people to actually go through it without interference? So public participation is not a priority by government. It's not.
So you talk about public participation that is being led by the chairperson of the budget committee, right? And here now is a question of public participation that Kenyans are having out there and discussing these issues. You talk about Jerry and what she's doing and the conversations that are taking place. But now there is Bunge la Mwananchi, where you belong, where Kenyans speak on a daily basis. What are Kenyans in these spaces saying about the budget, perhaps?
Kenyans are saying reject the... Actually, I came across a statement from one of the young people, a group of young people who had raised concerns about this whole budgeting process. And they are saying that it's unconstitutional, actually. They have bypassed Article 221, which stipulates transparency in both revenue and expenditure estimates. We are only told about expenditure, but revenue estimates are not really clear. So, and this is also a concern that was raised by the control of budget. So, as we participate in this whole conversation, we are airing out our dissatisfaction. Our expectation of government is not being met. And therefore, we are calling on government to listen to the people. When we say this is wrong, why we don't expect that they will listen, because they are determined to make things go through the way they are. And I started by saying the person who welcomed Minister John Bad in office is people from IMF and World Bank. It means our government and the leaders in our government are not answerable to us, but they are answerable to some other people. So the concerns we are raising as Bunge la Mwananchi and Kenyans in general are not meant to be heard by the leaders in government, because they have given their ears to some other people. So we are very sure that even as we raise our concerns, they will not listen.
Are you therefore saying, I hear you saying rather that this budget is meant to meet the objectives being pushed by these multinationals you're talking about? Okay.
Yes.
Do they have a responsibility from your point of view?
Who? The multinational?
Yes. In terms of what is happening in the country?
The country.
Yeah, they are very much part of it.
How so?
The PS for finance worked for IMF. Nearly everyone around finance, the central bank governor worked for IMF and World Bank. The reason why I say they are part of this issue is if you develop the country and you do not need to borrow a lot of money from them, they lose control. And when they lose control, like in the last elections, I supported Azimio. But to the end of the campaign, I was sure we are not going to get the presidency because of the things my presidential candidate was saying. When you say that you are going to cut importation of second-hand clothes, then you look at how much money Americans and Europe makes from sending second-hand clothes here. It's a significant amount of money. And by sending second-hand clothes here, they are dealing with two problems at once: waste management and making an economic activity. They are raking in money. So that they give you this second-hand t-shirt that you will wear for a couple of months. It wears out. It's now your problem where you are going to dispose it. So if you have a leader, an African president, who really cares about his people, then these people will be very much unwilling to have such a president. Like you can see the comments they are making about Traore. I saw that General of America, AFCOM, is it AFRICOM, saying that the president of Burkina Faso is misusing the gold of Burkina Faso. Then I was wondering, what is his problem when Burkinabe misuses resources that is in Burkina Faso? That tells you that they are very interested in what we have here, because it's what keeps them going. When Africa develops, immigration will change direction. They will be the ones coming here to look for jobs. And that's what they don't want. That's why they support people who are not so strong, people who do not offer any realistic solution to the economic problem. Like when President Ruto was asked at Chatham House in London how he was going to deal with the economy and make Kenya better, he said he will make sure that the opposition of the country is robust and strong. So how does that make the economy better? But Raila said, I'll make sure that every county has one product, so that we make Kenya a manufacturing hub. They definitely don't want that. You will cut importation. Their biggest issue is control. That's why you get a very brilliant person, but when they get into government, they suspend their brilliance, and you are wondering, what happened to this one?
Is it a case of suspending brilliance? And I want to put a point across here. When President Ruto took over power, together with the then Deputy Rigathi Gachagua, they were very, very clear, and they were so loud on the inheriting a depleted economy. Through the years, currently, the public debt, if you look at the bigger picture, the public debt now stands at 11.35 trillion.
Yes.
That's as of May this year. And this is up from 8.7 trillion Kenya shillings, which means there's an increase of 2.65 trillion Kenya shillings in under 3 years. Okay? That's 2.65 trillion. Now, what does that actually then mean? It means the higher taxes on everyday items, like we said, to service this debt, because we look at servicing debt, but they're not just servicing debt in terms of repayment of loans, but they are also paying for interest. Now, I was looking at a report. I was just looking at a report here, and when you look at it, it's a clear breakdown that what we are spending in terms of projected repayment obligations, 60% of what is collected as revenue is actually going into repayment of these loans. Then my question is, why are we taking more loans if we can't even afford to repay the ones that we already have? Because the reason why all this taxation debate is going on is because they have to pump in more money to repay. And I'll look at, I'm going to get the correct figure of how much. Yes, quickly. The year 2024-2025, the projected total debt was obligation was 1.854 trillion. Now, 843 billion, believe this, was for principal repayment. And then 1 trillion was just for interest repayment alone. So it's clear they're trying to draw money from all these different places to repay loans. So what do you think? Why do we keep getting into these loans?
Let me start from 2013, where President Uhuru took over. We were looking at how much money we collected for the period of 10 years from 2013 to 2023. The government collected almost 13 trillion, 13.5 around there. Then we looked at the expenditure of government for the same period of time. Then the government was seen to have spent almost 14.8 trillion. We collected 13.5. We spent 14. The deficit was almost 1.4 trillion for the period of 10 years. But the amount of money borrowed for the same period of time is almost 9 trillion. So we're asking questions. We needed just 1.4. Why borrow 8? Then I had Jimmy Wanjigi speak, and nobody has come forward to dispute what he said, that he hired auditors who came and did the audit of debt, and out of the 9 trillion, 6.5 trillion is not in our records. No parliament approved it. It did not come to our consolidated fund, but it is money that me and you are going to pay. 6.5 trillion. For the period of 10 years. Tujaguza William Ruto bado. Tuko kwa Uhuru Kenyatta pamoja na yeye akiwa deputy. So that means the borrowing is not actually meant to develop the country. Somebody profiteered from it, but then transferred the burden to the people. And the government is telling us that we are repaying debt, debt that did not benefit the sovereigns of the country. So if this debt did not benefit us, then we are saying, why are we even paying it? It's illegal.
Yes.
No parliament approved it. We don't know who the lender is, which project, repayment status, both principal and interest, they are not clear. That's why I started by saying it's a siphoning scheme. It's not about actually enriching themselves. No. The only logical interpretation of that whole thing is just to make you be where you are. That's why every time when you ask, what has the government done? They will tell you, unga imeshuka. They want to put you in the food basket. That the only thing you wake up to think about is how to feed yourself. So the borrowing has become the new way of extraction of our resources. So that they borrow, they put it away from where it does not benefit us, but then it's us to pay it. Someone borrows money, it doesn't come through our consolidated fund, it goes to an offshore account, but then you and me are supposed to pay. That's why we are bitter about this whole issue. And this is the issue that is eating almost half of our budget.
And will that end? Let's assume Ruto is not president.
Yes.
Let's just assume he's not president.
Yes.
Whoever comes in, because this conversation, we have to project it into the future. Do you think that if Ruto, for example, leaves, you're saying we reject the finance bill?
Which he will.
Okay. So let's assume he's not in the picture.
Yes.
The next president who takes over, what are they going to inherit? Because we'll still continue repaying these loans with or without
Ruto at the helm.
So are we still seeing a situation where for the next 10, 20 years, 30 or 40, we still continue to pay this?
That's why we need somebody with the political goodwill to do the audit and say this is what we are supposed to pay, but this is not what we are supposed to pay. So we look at who was there when it was being poured on. If you are here, then you take responsibility. That's why it's very important, even as we sing Ruto must go, the person who is coming, what is he coming to do differently? Because what has William Ruto done to qualify to be a one-term president?
Indeed.
What has he failed to do? So we start by defining the problem. That this is where he has failed in managing the economy, and the biggest issue is debt. So the person who must come is the person who has a clear vision of how to deal with public debt. And that, when you have such kind of clarity, out of the people with presidential prospects, you will have one person who you feel this one can deal with the problem that we are having. If we don't do that, even if we send William Ruto home, which I've said we will come back here and cry of the same problems under different president.
Okay, so those are the issues essentially that need to be dealt with. And I think it's important that we do. I mean, I say it almost sound like a broken record, but it's important that we do have those kind of conversations. And unfortunately, time doesn't allow us to go beyond this. But we want to thank you so much, Joachim Simiu, Governance Advisory and Policy Analysis Expert, Bungola Mwananchi, in 10 seconds.
Somebody sent me a text today. And begged me to say this on this show. A person who worked for Equity Bank in 2005, and he's saying there is a substantial amount of money that they were scammed as employees. There was a program called Employee Shares Ownership Plan, which the employees, a total of 384, were convinced to buy shares, a total of 2.5 billion shillings, and the dividends of 1.1 billion. So from 2005 up to today, if that money is valued, it is almost 50 billion.
I think that's something that obviously, because we cannot verify that now, then we can't at this point use that as a platform, but it's something that we can look into. And unfortunately also our time is coming to an end, Joachim, but we want to thank you so much for being here this morning as we continue to have this important discourse. Good morning at 10:01.
Thank you.
Spice up your life